We work hard to create some of the best audio in the world.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Sunday, March 17th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gibbo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1121.
This is No Agenda.
Reading the manifesto so you don't have to. And broadcasting live from the capital of the Drone Star State here in downtown Austin, Tejas, in the Cludio in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where we all say, top of the in the morning, I'm Johnson.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
The top of the in the morning. Ah, yes, it's St. Patrick's Day. That's right. I almost forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been such a nutty couple of days that, we forgot children are out protesting. We forgot St. Patrick's Day. It's just, everything is up in the air.
The children, they're out protesting.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with my news from yesterday. I think
news?
Minor news. I believe that we are starting to see a tipping point with the phone zombies. Yeah.
Go on.
Okay. Yesterday, we went over to the house. We were starting to move some stuff slowly, bit by bit, doing it ourselves. Saves costs on the movers. And we're driving back, and we're on, we're in southeast Austin. We're going towards north, and we're in the left-hand. Now, it's south by southwest, so it's a little busier, but it was also, around 5 o'clock.
I thought that was over by now.
Yeah, and today, I think today or tomorrow maybe even is the last day. It's until the 18th, geez. Yeah. So people either left Thursday or they're leaving today or tomorrow. Anyway, so it's a little bit busier, certainly around 5 o'clock, and we have some rush hour traffic anyway, and traffic in Austin is pretty bad. And it's, 4 lanes, 2 on each side. I'm in the left-hand lane, and I have to stop. We're right near the lake. This is a car that's waiting to turn left, waiting for a break in traffic to park by the lake. And I'm with Tina, and I'm with Elise, and we're just chatting away, and we get rear-ended so hard by I would say she was probably about 20, 25, 26, a young millennial. You've been rear-ended. I mean, when someone really hits there was no brake screeches, she went full on into us. Probably doing about 40.
She was on her phone.
Well, exactly. So first I check ourselves. We're all okay. I get out. Her thing is totaled. Her head is down in the airbag. I'm like, holy crap, this is not good. So I open the door.
She's still holding the phone?
No, I open the door, and she's dazed. I mean, she's seriously dazed, but there's no lacerations or anything. And, the airbag is still smoking. And the first thing she says is, my brakes didn't work. And I see the phone between her legs on the ground with Google Maps open. And that was, I just kept her calm and asked her to sit, stay put and don't move until, Austin Police and Fire Department, they're there within 3 minutes, so fast. And so I didn't have any further contact with her, which actually was kind of weird. Maybe he'd come up afterwards and say, hey, sorry, but no, didn't get any of that.
No, she's not going to do that. And she probably shouldn't.
What do you mean?
It's an admission of guilt.
Right. And so, me, of course, I'm talking to the firemen and the firewoman, and I'm talking to the cops. And
signing autographs.
Signing autographs, exactly. And, looking at their gear and, how these reports are done, which is pretty cool. It's automated. They just scan your registration sticker. They got all your details. It's right there on the front of the car with a barcode. They got everything.
It's like going to a car rental place.
Yeah, exactly like that. And, so I'm talking, the guy says, yeah, distracted driver. I said, so is she okay? Yeah, she's just a little shaken up. She's coming out of it, saying her brake didn't work. And I look at him, he says, yeah, I got to put it down because that's what she said. But this happens every day now. It almost happened to me this morning. He says, I was in the right-hand lane, so the person behind me could swerve off into the grass. But it's happening every day. And it makes sense. You'll have these slower speed, 35, average probably mile an hour rear endings, because all you need to do is look down for a second and a half and you've traveled right into someone's tailgate. I think we're going to see a lot more of this.
Well, we wouldn't see a lot more of it if the phone companies were more responsible. I'm talking about the handset makers. They could fix their phones so this is not even possible.
Not even possible to use it?
They have their little accelerometer in there. If the phone is moving faster than 10 miles an hour.
Yeah. How do you think that would go over with the public? Do you think the public would accept that? I don't think so. I wouldn't accept it. Don't tell me what to do. I'm not your slave.
That's what they should do. But then let the law come into play. Why not our legislative people?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we let them, to finally do something about this plague and pass a law that the phone companies have to do that?
Well, I will say that in Austin, we have very strict laws for...
we have them in California, too. It doesn't help.
I'm just saying that here every morning, because Tina drives, to work every morning, and they'll be waiting. One is waiting on his bike, kind of, looking at his knees or something, and then he signals ahead. This one was on their phone. I think it's $300 or $500 now just for holding or touching your phone while driving.
Well, good.
I don't think it deters anyone, but anyway.
I don't think it does either, because you just do it underneath you can't see everything.
Anyway, my tailgate is
And she
wrecked.
had hers between her legs.
Yeah. Yeah, she was holding on to it. It wound up on the floor. And I could see Google Maps, like, okay, I got it. Anyway, I'm glad everyone's unhurt.
She was in for a rude awakening.
Yeah. No squeal of brakes, man. Nothing. She went straight in.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, I'm glad you guys weren't hurt. Now, I used to
hurt.
work with a guy who was an insurance guy. He used to work for insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of made most of his money off of doing these little insurance scams, including, he says one of the best bits you can do is you drive around Lake Merritt. This was before cell phones. Nowadays, you can do this much easier.
Mm-hmm.
You'd drive around Lake Merritt until you saw somebody right behind you doing her lipstick.
Mm-hmm.
Then you'd slam on your brakes and let her rear end you. And it was always good for a good amount of money. But he says if you get rear ended like you just did, his advice was to just lay there and wait for and say, I need an ambulance.
Oh, sure.
He says, good for $250,000.
Yeah, for a moment there, you consider that. You're thinking like, and they kept asking me, "Are you sure you're okay?" And I'm sure it's good. You sure you're okay? Everyone okay? Yeah, everyone's fine. And if we didn't have headrests, that we would not have been fine at all. And that's what the headrests are for, so you don't break your neck, because that would have been bad. But no, I guess you know what. My exit strategy came and went, didn't even see it. Damn it.
Well, it'll happen again from the sounds of your prediction.
Yeah, exactly. You can just wait for it. Just you can probably even, like draw a foul in basketball. You can probably, just think I'll slow down here and stop for a second, maybe 100 yards past the stoplight, see what happens.
Anyway. Well, that's a little more exciting than anything I did today.
Well, what have you
yesterday? I guess today I just started.
I mean, I've just been deep down. There's so much interesting stuff to talk about.
Well, since you started with the millennial douchebag rear-ending you, I might as well play this. That Facebook went down. We didn't talk really too much about it, but apparently it was discussed to excess on NPR.
Oh,
on one of the fine NPR. I think the name of it's Been a Minute is the name of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it is it's a millennial show, and you're going to hear the millennials discussing the great details, and they're going to get a lot of details. They're going to find all the really deep information. Well, this is the bonus clip one.
I was wondering what these bonus clips were.
Sally, you're last. What are your 3 words?
Well, Julia, speaking of infinite and endless ways of interacting with the news, my 3 words are #Facebook down.
Ooh, tell us about it.
Well, as you may know, earlier this week, Facebook went down for, I think, about 14 hours. And also the quote-unquote Facebook family of apps, as they call it. Which is a cute way of talking about all of the internet that they own, which is Instagram and WhatsApp, Tinder. So people were having...
Was Tinder down?
I have no idea if Tinder was down.
I thought you might know.
A lot of trouble accessing Facebook and Instagram and posting and interacting with it. And I think it affected people in multiple countries.
Right.
I was affected by my it made it so that I couldn't like compulsively refresh Facebook for no reason, which is what I discovered. Freedom. Yeah. I know, you would think that.
But it was actually...
No, I feel like at this point, my need to check Facebook has become encoded on my, like there's something evolutionarily happening.
Yeah.
I instinctually, I'll have Facebook open and I'll be like, I should open Facebook. And it's like, it's already there. But it's built in.
Wow.
So there was pandemonium.
There was,
right?
Yeah.
And I think, it affected people in real ways, like who rely on, for example, WhatsApp to communicate with people internationally.
Right.
But I think for me and most of the people I was talking to, it affects us just in that. Like, for example, I posted something on Instagram that morning and I was really hoping to get some likes. I staged a really nice photo.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, yes. Oh, we've all been there, haven't we?
For understanding.
Holy crap. Bonus
this
clip
is
indeed.
NPR people.
Is this the new NPR? Is this the future of NPR? Are these reporters in space?
This is the millennials talking like.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
With all vocal fry, and there's some guy there who's just giggling at everything she says, very girly like. Try to impress. He's.
But John,
withering.
come on, we've all been there when you styled your picture, you wanted some likes, and you couldn't get it. I mean, it's a bad day, man. It's a day wrecker. Come on.
Well, let's let her continue.
Thank you for understanding.
I recently put my phone to grayscale to try and not use it as much, which basically means that it looks like a black and white TV or whatever.
It's uglier and it's not as pleasurable.
You know what happened? I still use all of the apps. I just have no pleasure in using them. I'm like not happy about it, but I'm using them basically just as much as I was when it was color. It's really, I feel defeated, honestly.
But the thing about this particular Facebook outage is that I noticed recently that when I brought it up to people, more people than usual, when there's some sort of outage in an app we use all the time, more people are like, oh, I didn't notice because, for example, your phone's in grayscale.
That's
or
right.
My wife took Facebook off her phone and as a result is using it like 95% less. So she didn't know about it. And I feel like that was the other thing, like half of us were experiencing total panic because we couldn't access our social media. But then like half of people were like floating with equanimity on a cloud being like, I didn't even notice that because I deleted that app.
It's funny because I kind of been reconnecting with an old friend who a few years ago, I was like, man, like you got to get online with the rest of us so we know what's happening in your life. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm just not the kind of person who does that. I'm not on Facebook. I'm like, you know what? I think you made the right choice.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Right.
Absolutely.
We've come around now that there was a point where that was like the pretentious choice.
Yeah.
And now it's actually the most honorable, admirable
You're so
choice.
sophisticated.
Yeah. Like, oh, wow. I wish I want to be like you one day. Deactivating Facebook.
Incredible.
Wild. Yeah.
Well, this is very disturbing to hear.
I thought you'd think so.
Very disturbing.
This is NPR people.
I'll give you a borderline because it's NPR. That's for the combo of the two, but really, you can't honor this kind of stuff. That's really bad. That's like really bad, man.
Bad.
Like, it's like honestly, right? Honestly, right? What are they teaching these children?
That's what got me.
Yeah.
Besides the vocal fry, she actually switched into a normal voice when she was imitating I don't know who she was imitating.
Old
but
person.
This vocal fry girl sounded normal for a very short time.
Yeah.
Now, I do have an ISO that I pulled from that.
Well, of course.
Dave Drews found this clip and sent it to me.
Ooh.
But he pulled the ISO.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's when you don't get any likes.
Ooh.
That's like when you don't get any likes, like it.
Ooh.
Right? Honestly, sure.
That's NPR, people.
Yeah, that's
There you go. This is, to
where
me,
speech is going.
This show, and I think a lot of the stuff going on in NPR nowadays is very much like, why does MSNBC still have Al Sharpton?
What the problem with this clip is I am now going to start obsessing over the use of the word like, which you just used.
Like?
Yeah. It's like.
We can catch each other.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be an 8-hour show. If you look at the word cloud, we have the transcript. at natranscripts.online, I believe it is. And if you look at the word cloud, like is the biggest word. It's always like.
We're already stuck. We've already been infected by these people.
We have. Shall we discuss the New Zealand mosque massacre?
Well, I have a bunch of clips, so I guess we must.
Yes. Before we jump into clips, and I knew you would have clips, and I'm pretty sure you knew I would be looking at the manifesto.
Yes, I actually assured myself, and a couple of things. I caught the shootings not as they were occurring, because I never saw the stream, but I did catch it the night of it, because I was watching popcorn, and then I switched to CBSN, and they had a feed from TV3. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the computer and started recording it. TV3 is an Australian local channel, and they had these. They didn't even play CBSN. It was just a feed from Australia, and so I managed to get a few kind of interesting clips. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of them were that great.
Well, but a couple of observations as this started. The first memes we saw, and with memes I mean stuff that really went viral, was it? I think it was even a graphic that showed the 4 steps you have to take when a tragedy happens. Don't immediately start reporting. It was almost something that would have been handed out to journalists. The first information is not always correct. Better to report correctly than fast. And this propagated very quickly. The next thing I saw was, and typically even if the person is known only through a social media account, they'll say, all right, the guy's name was Brenton Tarrant. Typically, they'll have his middle name in there, Brenton Tarrant, which I think this guy has. It's like Hugh or something, whatever it is. But they didn't. It was continuously the alleged shooter identifies as Brenton Tarrant on social media. It was something different. I'm not saying there's anything nefarious to it, but I thought that was interesting that the media reported that differently. And then came the part that bugged me the most. As I had already received a full video copy, offline video copy of the streaming video, and multiple copies of said manifesto, The Great Replacement. Everyone was saying, don't share the document. Don't read the document. Don't share his name. Don't share the manifesto. Don't read it. Don't share it. Don't read it. And that is so... you know how that bugs me.
Well, a couple of things.
And I'll just say why briefly.
Began in Australia, in New Zealand, because the reporters were saying the same thing.
Well, it was Shapiro.
They would do their report. And by the way, the New Zealand accent is it's terrible.
It's harsh.
It is really a bad accent. It's very hard to hear what they're saying. But they make a big point. They do all this reporting, and then they say, and we advise you to not do this, not do that. And they advise you not to pass information around.
Right. But Ben Shapiro was number one on this.
Do not use links to the video.
Oh, yeah, another thing. Don't use links to the video. But Shapiro was doing this. And I don't care what you say. If someone kills people, like Ted Kaczynski, it's worth a read. What was he thinking? And to me, and that's where I'll come in. You have clips. I have a couple things that may add some color. That to me is the gross atrocity, the second atrocity taking place. We had the killings as the first, and then this literal, M5M information bomb intended to get a specific response. It's written in the manifesto, and everyone's doing it. So let's get into what you've got, and then we'll circle around to that.
Okay, these are all under the massacre subcategory.
Yeah.
This was a good one. This was one of those early reports about somebody who was actually there and watching it. This is the massacre man on the street report from TV3.
You said there were some Muslims.
There were two cars parked here with Muslims in it, and they were just chatting away. They didn't seem to be upset. They certainly were 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, because they'd come back. So I'm thinking that this guy, this was prior to the mosque shooting because I knew nothing about that.
Yeah, do you think he was maybe shooting people in this area before he went down to the mosque, or shooting at people?
Well, he didn't. I didn't see anybody that he shot, but he certainly discharged his rifle twice that way. I don't know what he was shooting at, whether he was shooting at Muslims in cars, because that car had another car with it.
And viewers can't see, but there's a car just beyond us here, outside of the cordon actually, that has been shot out.
Hasn't moved.
It may be that police are not aware that he was shooting this far down here.
I don't think they're aware that that car even exists, but certainly the motel guy will be, because he shot straight in there.
And were you able, I mean, we're pretty close here, this is where, you know, how many metres are we talking that you're away from this guy?
The width of the road. So 3.5 there, for 4 metres, 5 metres.
4 metres, so you could see into his eyes. I mean, what?
Oh, yeah, he was a European guy, thick set. I told the police this. It was hard to pick his age because he had a complete, covered his, like, the outside of his face, like a SWAT guy. And a bit of a reflection on the window, but yeah, he was definitely a European of thick set build. And that's why I thought he was a tactical, SWAT guy.
And looking back now, you didn't know at the time, but he has clearly been targeting Muslims.
Yeah.
He's killed 30 of them just down the road here. Do you think that he didn't want to kill you? Because he obviously had an opportunity to kill you. This is a man who's killed 30 people that you've come face to face with.
Obviously, if I walked out here and looked like a Muslim, with my head done up or whatever, he probably would have shot me. But I mean, I look like a Kiwi bloke or an Aussie bloke. I meant him no harm because I didn't understand what was going on. But had he pointed a gun with me, I would have hightailed it. Trust me, I don't care who he is. A gun's a gun, but he was reloading.
He was reloading.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sitting here having a conversation right now. You've just looked a man in the eye out on your front doorstep who's killed 30 people in New Zealand in a terrorist attack, Ross.
Oh, I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, we're not used to this sort of stuff in Christchurch, let alone in New Zealand, and it takes you by surprise.
Yeah, that's not very intelligible for many.
I can barely understand half of what he said. He keeps saying sexy body, but he's not. He's saying something else.
I want to point out, just before we delve into it, we're just going straight into deconstruction, so we're not going to waste your time with, of course, this is horrible, this sucks, everyone gets it. And whatever we discuss, not necessarily our opinion, but we just have to go through whatever we see and what we have.
Yeah, we're not. It was terrible, and it seemed to. And I will say this: the reporters that were on the scene, I've never seen this one guy in particular was just about to cry, and he was shaky. He was doing a stand-up, and it was like there was it was a horrible situation. There is a intelligence guy named Paul Buchanan, who moved to New Zealand from the United States, and he worked for one of the agencies, we don't know which, and he came on the show.
Well, New Zealand is a part of Five Eyes, so there's spooks there. There's spooks there.
Yeah, he may be the spook working there now, but he was on the set, and he was pontificating like they expect Americans to do. And I do have 3 clips from this guy, and they're pretty short, but let's play Massacre Paul Buchanan on TV3.
The vitriol, the hatred, and in this particular instance, the Islamophobia that comes through in these blogs, and they're not censored, they're not even monitored as far as I can tell, and they're allowed to get away with it, and then you get that pack mentality going. On the fringes of the pack are people like this. Now, the fact that he has semi-automatic...
They're talking about 8chan and that kind of stuff. Is that so? They're talking about this
I don't
fringe.
know. He's talking in general about the unmonitored blogging.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to tell you that in advance of this. I'm going to tell you the 3 themes that I'm going to have some clips that back up. One, they seem to be emphasizing there's nutballs online and they should be stopped. The other one is that this was terrorism instead of an act of, insanity. It was terrorism, and it needs to be defined as such.
Okay.
And so that came up, over and over again. And then there was a lot less about the guns, gun control, because they already have pretty unbelievable gun control there, which is ironic. Anyway, there was the getting away with blogging, blogging without a license is the way I'm looking at it. And then the last one was that this was very comparable to 9/11.
Okay.
So anyway,
okay, well, back to Paul Buchanan.
Let's skip the rest of that one and go to Buchanan 2.
Paul Buchanan is our guest at the moment on a special edition of The Project as we try and piece together what happened today and what the future looks like. Paul, how about that issue that Kanoa raised? Why isn't the T word being used, the terrorism word?
Well, it's absolutely an act of terrorism, and anyone who would say otherwise clearly doesn't know what they're talking about. This was done to intimidate the Muslim community. In fact, again, I'll go back to this guy's manifesto. He says he wrote this prior to committing this act. So he outlines why he's doing it. He says he's going to get the foreign invaders out. He's going to put fear into their hearts. He's going to avenge all the European deaths at the hands of Muslims. This was a political act of violence. There is no way you cannot say it was terrorism. And if you say, oh, he was mentally ill and that, well, one might argue that every act of terrorism is an act of madness. But the point here, it was very political in nature. And so by any definition, narrow or broad, this was a terrorist act. And it, again, it's a watershed moment in our history because it dwarfs anything that has happened to New Zealand in the past. The Rainbow Warrior.
You said New Zealand is now infected.
Well, we're infected with this virus of confrontational to the point of homicidal.
I like that. All right. Do you think this was not a terrorist attack?
I don't think it was a terrorist attack.
I want to read from his manifesto, which surprised me that the journalist cites the document. And by the way, there's a big difference between a manifesto like Ted Kaczynski and this, but I have other things to say about it. About a third of this document reads like an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. But after it's done, so you have the question and then the answer, or you could say it looks like an interview. So questions are asked and highlighted in bold. Question: do you consider this a terrorist attack? His answer: by the definition, then yes, it is a terrorist attack. But I believe it is a partisan action against an occupying force. Just interesting that the journalists there didn't mention what his actual words were.
Yeah, that manifesto is really a dog. All right, let's go to.
I'm sorry. What do you mean by a dog?
Well, there's a lot of cut and paste in there that other people have pointed out.
Okay, we'll talk about it in a minute. You do your clips because I'm gonna have to disagree. But let's get.
You don't think there's any cut and paste in there?
Every document is cut and paste, but
no, I know. But I mean,
no, it's not like the compendium of Anders Breivik. That was cut and paste. This is written...
Massacre Paul 3. This is the other one.
Intelligence and defence policy analyst. You've had some big days, and I asked you just before we went on air, I said, have you had a big day? And you made a chilling parallel.
Yes, this is in terms of what happened as of 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The only thing that I can compare it to is 9/11.
Oh, yeah. Not in scale of destruction, but in scale of how it's spreading and being reported and hopefully changing, or with hopes of changing minds and thinking. Yeah, I think it is equal to that on a media level, but not anywhere near destruction.
And then we have this is the continuation. This is actually should have been a clip before his comments about terrorism, but here's Massacre TV3 terrorism.
Also, a sentiment that's been expressed by many in the Muslim community. Why are we not calling this an act of terror? So we will return to you very soon.
Oh, that's again why we're not calling it act of terrorism. I think it's easy to do that.
Why is this important?
Because it sets, it's a whole different ballgame when it's terrorism versus domestic, violence or mentally ill. I think you can go after a group of people with similar ideology.
Well, yeah, I think you can maybe. I think they're shoehorning this in there. Here's the way I'm looking at it. This guy was nuts. and he has all the elements of a guy who's nuts. And he does this. He's apparently a Reddit guy, and this is like part of some new thing there, people are doing called shit posting.
Well, that's not exactly. Go to the No Agenda Reddit. That's what they call themselves, shit posters. Yeah.
Well, it's because they are.
Yeah.
But this whole thing is like it's almost like real LARPing with a purpose.
Yeah, I'd say 4chan is a part of that.
I would think that terrorism is a scheme, and it's not a. You could say anything's terrorism if you could lift up somebody's skirt walking down the street and then scream at someone. And that's kind of terror. If everything could be terrorism, if you're going to loosen the definition to an extreme, but the insistence that it's terrorism, to me,
there's a reason for it.
Looks as if there's a reason for it being. Why do we have to call this terrorism? Why can't we call it one nutball? Why didn't we call some of the school shootings terrorism? Was it terrorism per se, or is it just a lone screwball? The guy who walked into the Aurora Theater and shot it up. Is that terrorism? We could call it terrorism if you were insisting on it, but is it terrorism? And I think this insistence that they call it terrorism, there's something behind it.
Well, let's look at, and this has nothing to do with New Zealand, but we can look at Title 22, Chapter 38 of the United States Code. As terrorism is defined as premeditated, politically motivated violence perpetrated against non-combatant targets by subnational groups or clandestine agents.
Okay, so those last two words that
subnational groups or clandestine agents.
Yeah, that negate this being terrorism. This guy's not a clandestine agent of anybody. And he's not unless you're calling him an agent of Australia.
He's calling himself.
He can call himself whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm. Would you say he's a member of a subnational group
No.
of white nationalists?
No,
that's not a subnational
What's the
group.
Name the group.
It's a white nationalist.
That is not a group. That's just the definition. That's a vagary. It doesn't.
Right.
That's not a group.
So if they had a name like Proud Boys. Not that they are, but I'm just throwing something out there. That is a named group, then it could be a subnational group?
I think it's closer.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm
just saying the way I'm looking at this, that they're trying to shoehorn this terrorism idea.
He did call himself an eco-fascist. Consistently.
Yeah. Why?
Well, why? Why is a different question.
The guy is like, he's screwed. This guy is insane.
Yeah, I don't think this guy is
mocking. He's mocking everything, including his own manifesto. It's a nonsense document.
No, I have a different opinion.
Terrorism thing is a nonsense.
Okay.
I mean, they're trying to make it into a terrorist thing. I can understand the Muslims thinking that we should do that because you're always blaming us as a group. You're always blaming Muslims as a group of being a bunch of terrorists. If you walk around with a hijab on or anything or a hat, you're a terrorist Muslim. And so I can see why they're trying to make it look like, well, no, you guys are the worst terrorists than we are. I think it's nonsense. I think the whole thing was an insane incident by some screwball. And that's as far as I can take it.
Okay. So I read the document multiple times, marked it up, and have put it in the show notes as I usually do. I think that this, I agree with you. I don't think this is necessarily, this guy is the least interesting part of the story to me. The document is interesting to me. And it's not just a cut and paste job. And I really read through this and I really scoured it. And it immediately, it reminded me of the Anders Breivik, who murdered, was it like 80 people in Norway? I saw long ago now, I've forgotten.
But I don't think it was that many, but it was a lot.
It was 60.
They were on an island; they couldn't get off.
Yeah, but who they were was important because Breivik's his compendium, which is a definition of a cut and paste job. His compendium specifically stated that he wanted to stop the next generation of left-wing, he may have even said socialist politicians, and these were young kids of whatever the political party was who were on a retreat, and he wanted to stop them so that he would therefore stop the immigration of brown people into his white country. And all of the stuff that he brought up there with the stopping the Ottoman Empire, was it 1683 in Vienna, the Crusades, all of this was about the Ottoman Empire invading us, and how could our politicians sell us out? I'm speaking on his behalf. How could our politicians sell us out to allow the Ottoman Empire to still come in and invade our country? Which is always described as white supremacist, which I don't think Breivik was. White nationalist, yes. And it's the same for this guy. Now, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, this document. And he starts with some scribe, which is not that important. But his introduction, it's the birthrights. And he says that over and over again. If there's one thing I want you to remember from these writings, it's that the birthrights must change. Even if we were to deport all non-Europeans from our lands tomorrow, the European people would still be spiraling into decay and eventual death. And we know that this is a general theme. And the reason why I find this interesting to me personally to dive into is when I moved back to the Netherlands at the end of 99, it was a different country. And the problem that people were talking about was Muslim immigrants, and specifically at the time, Moroccans. And there was Pim Fortuyn. He was the politician who was saying we have to stop Islamification. We have to stop. He may have used the invader term. I don't remember that specifically. But he was on the path to win the Dutch elections, the political elections with his party. He would become the prime minister. His party won posthumously, but 2 weeks before, he was assassinated. So I saw this, and I saw the people like Taxi Eric. Now, he's not a guy who's going to go grab a gun and go kill Muslims, but there is definitely a feeling amongst white Europeans that they're being invaded. And I'm just using that term loosely. So it's not a made-up problem. Mass immigration and higher fertility rates of the immigrants themselves are causing this increase in the population. We are experiencing an invasion on a level never seen before in history. Millions of people pouring across our borders legally, invited by the state and corporate entities to replace the white people who have failed to reproduce, failed to create the cheap labor and new consumers and tax base that the corporations and states need to thrive. The title of his document, again, is The Great Replacement, and it's on Wikipedia as a conspiracy theory, of course. The Great Replacement, Le Grand Replacement en français, is a right-wing conspiracy theory, of course, which states that this is Wikipedia, so take the right wing with whatever grain of salt you want, which states that the white Catholic French population and the white Christian European population at large is being systematically replaced with non-European people. And he goes into the story of his travels and how he traveled around France and how he saw that this indeed was taken. Now, we don't see this because we'll see something going on in Paris, and we'll hear something, and we hear about no-go zones. But I think you will agree with me that there is a huge Muslim population throughout all of France.
Yeah, they have large pockets, like in La Défense.
Lyon, it's all over.
And Lyon, yes, there's a big pocket there. So, and it's interesting because the French kind of. Meanwhile, of course, the French are having these riots now that are gone completely out of control. Yeah, nobody wants to report on that.
Well, you can't switch topics on me like that.
No, there may be some connection.
So he says, well, he traveled, and he actually explains how he came to this conclusion. But he says we must crush immigration and deport those invaders already living on our soil. It is not just a matter of our prosperity, but the very survival of our people. And then he goes into this Ask Me Anything, where it's under the heading Answering Possible Questions in General. Who are you? Ordinary white man, 28 years old, born in Australia into a working-class, low-income family. My parents are of Scottish, Irish, and English stock. I had a regular childhood without any great issues. I had little interest in education during my schooling, barely achieving a passing grade, which was a big red flag for me, because this document is not just by some moron who barely achieved a passing grade. There's a lot of memes in here and things that are meant to go viral, which are even explained in it. More recently, I've been working part-time as a kebab removalist. They're very funny. I'm just a regular white man from a regular family who decided to take a stand to ensure a future for my family. And then there are 5 steps that he hopes to achieve. And the first one, he says, I want to take revenge for the thousands of European lives lost to terror attacks throughout Europe. He even says, actually, and we don't, it's a little difficult for us older guys to understand, but he says, I was traveling as a tourist in Western Europe, France, Spain, and Portugal, and others. The first event that begun to change for him when he changed his thinking about invaders, he says, was the terror attack in Stockholm on the 7th of April, 2017. It was yet another terror attack in the seemingly never-ending attacks that had occurred on a regular basis throughout my adult life. We forget that, the first terror attacks, 2001, the guy wasn't even 10 years old, and then he's just seen one after another, after another, after another. I look at Bataclan, look at Charlie Hebdo. It's not like this doesn't affect young people. This guy is relatively young. You and I have children in this age bracket. So that when he says, I've grown up seeing this, I decided to take a stand, I'm not saying it's great, but I get it. Something that hasn't been a part of my life for as long as I can remember, cynicism in the face of attacks of the West by Islamic invaders was suddenly no longer there. I could no longer bring the sneer to my face. I could no longer turn my back on the violence. Something this time was different. That difference was Abba Ackerlund. And this is one of the sisters who was mowed down by the stolen van on the shopping promenade. So he has a lot of reasoning behind, I'm just skipping around, a lot of reasoning behind why he's doing this. So here's what he wants to happen. First, I'm doing this to take revenge for the thousands of European lives lost to terror attacks throughout European lands. To take revenge for Ebba Ackerlund, and to directly reduce immigration rates to European lands by intimidating and physically removing the invaders themselves. So he's saying it right there. I want to intimidate, which I think is terrorism. To agitate...
Intimidation is not terrorism.
Okay, I'm not going to... It's fine. It doesn't matter to me. Doesn't. To agitate the political enemies of my people into action, to cause them to overextend their own hand and experience the eventual and inevitable backlash as a result. I think that step 1 has already taken place. And it's witnessed here in this montage. They immediately are overstepping their bounds and blaming it on Trump. And just so we're very clear what he said about Trump, it was in this question and answer section. It's all about the context. And if you look at a couple questions before, hold on. Here's, are you a homophobe? No, I simply do not care at all that much what gay people do, as long as they are loyal to their people and place their peoples first, then I have no issues. Are you right-wing? Depending on the definition, sure. Are you left-wing? Depending on the definition, sure. Are you a socialist? Depending on the definition, worker ownership of the means of production depends on who those workers are. Are you a supporter of Donald Trump? As a symbol of renewed white identity and common purpose, ? Sure. As a policymaker and a leader, dear God, no. Are you a supporter of Brexit? So it's in a list of questions. It's not exactly the way it's being portrayed as, oh, he mentioned Trump. Yeah, symbol of renewed white identity.
You asked for God to change people's hearts. Yeah. I have a question for you. Does God need to change people's language? President Trump, whether intentionally or I think in a lot of cases even inadvertently, has provided a lot of fodder for people like this.
Words do have consequences, and we know that at the very pinnacle of power in our own country.
You mean the president talking about it? I mean, I know it's hard to even call this out. I've heard this from a guest this morning.
This shooter, according to these reports, specifically invoked our president as an inspiration.
You asked Matthew earlier about, is there someone out there tonight who's going to hear Trump's rhetoric and act on it? We know that lots of far-right attackers have claimed to be Trump supporters in recent months.
And there's an intolerance that's being spread in this country, in this world, and it comes from the political dialogue. Let's be clear, it comes from political leaders.
Words have consequences, like saying we have an invasion at our border.
The language he uses
in this manifesto is all about invaders. It's also language that President Trump used in a campaign ad before the midterm election.
Why they're seeing inspiration from our own president, John, is you have a president who, when he was a candidate, talked about banning Muslims from entering this country.
So this is a president who has given plenty of rhetorical ammunition, I think, to terrorists like this.
We need to be mindful in our own rhetoric and in our own actions how we're pushing it.
Maybe we need to hear a little less from the president in terms of his rather incendiary, inflammatory rhetoric on racial or ethnic matters.
I know earlier the president tweeted out a message of sympathy to the victims, but the president of the United States needs to go further.
So disgustingly, the M5M took this and made it into a screw Trump, it's all his fault.
So the worst line in there was, he said, what I think it was Brzezinski, I don't know who said this, that the shooter said Trump was his inspiration.
Yes. Oh, I heard a lot of these
types. There was
types.
Zero evidence of that.
Zero. But when people would read the portion of, the two lines about Trump, they would always omit, the context of it. And
they'd also omit the second part.
Yes, the whole second part.
Versus God, no, the guy's a disaster.
Yes. So the guy's this shooter is talking about these 3 steps. The first one is, make everyone go crazy and overextend. Step 2, to incite violence, retaliation, and further divide between the European people and the invaders currently occupying European soil. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Again, and he doubles down on to agitate the political enemies of my people into action to overextend their own hand and experience the eventual backlash. And then step 3, I believe this may already have happened. He's very specific about this, to add momentum to the pendulum swings of history, further destabilizing and polarizing Western society in order to eventually destroy the current nihilistic, hedonistic, individualistic insanity that has taken control of Western thought. This is not some dumb line that someone wrote, John. This is I don't know if he wrote it. Don't know.
I thought he wrote half of that, but keep going. I'm not going to argue about your deconstruction.
Yeah. Step 4, finally, to create conflict between the two ideologies within the United States on the ownership of firearms in order to further the social, cultural, political, and racial divide within the United States. This conflict over the Second Amendment and the attempted removal of firearms rights will ultimately result in civil war that will eventually balkanize the U.S. along political, cultural, and most importantly, racial lines. And he feels this is good because the balkanization of the U.S. will not only result in the racial separation of the people within the United States, ensuring the future of the white race on the North American continent, but also ensuring the death of the melting pot pipe dream. U.S. involvement in Kosovo shall never occur again, where U.S. NATO forces fought side by side with Muslims and slaughtered Christian Europeans attempting to remove these Islamic occupiers from Europe. I wasn't really there when this happened in the 90s. Neither you or I can understand how people feel about that. But clearly someone feels something about it. What do you ultimately want, he asks in his Ask Me Anything. We must ensure the existence of our people and a future for white children. There's no supremacy, like people are less or whatever. He just calls them invaders. I'll go down. Let me see if there's anything else interesting. Why won't anyone do anything? Are you part of any political groups? I'm not a direct member of any organization or group, though I have donated to many nationalist groups and have interacted with many more. Did the groups you support or aligned with order or promote your attack? No group ordered my attack. I made the decision myself, though I did contact the Reborn Knights Templar for a blessing in support of the attack, which was given. And I believe that is the Anders Breivik guy. Did you carry out the attack for fame? These are all really good things that the media could report on and maybe should be looked at in schools. I don't know. Did you carry out the attack for fame? No. Carrying out an attack for fame would be laughable. After all, who can remember the name of the attackers on the September 11th attack in New York? How about the attack on the Pentagon, the attackers in the plane that crashed into the field the same day? I will be forgotten quickly. He's got a point there. Why did you choose Christchurch? And this time, the best time to attack was yesterday. The next best time is today. Oh, great. These little nuggets he throws in there. By the way, we got a note we have a lot of producers and some knights in New Zealand. Here's a note from producer Tristan. New Zealand is pretty tolerant place, but has always had an undercurrent of racial tension. It's a colony, and it's the one binding fact of all post-colonial countries. They're built on racial inequality. It's inherent in the modern fabric of the country due to its foundation. See the film Once We're Warriors for New Zealand, and see the film The Chant of Jimmy Blacksmith for Australia. The thing with New Zealand is that it always perceives itself as better than Australia with regards to race relations, but perception is just that. I didn't grow up in New Zealand, but in Australia, so I have an outsider's view of New Zealand. Historically, Christchurch has always been a hotbed of white supremacy in New Zealand, with skinhead gangs and hate groups. It's New Zealand's ground zero for that type of thing and has been for decades. I didn't hear that from anybody. Thought that was
I didn't hear from TV3 either.
No, I thought that was...
That's all I heard, because they interviewed the mayor, and they had everybody that was on, all the hosts of these news shows. They were just going on and on and on and on about how tolerant the New Zealanders are, much more so than pretty much anyone else in the world.
Of course.
And multiculturalism lives,
yes.
and diversity is the most important thing in our lives.
Yeah, meanwhile, there are people there who also have problem with what they think are invaders, regardless of the realities of what they think. Hey, why did you choose New Zealand as a place to attack? Well, New Zealand was not my original choice for the attack. I only arrived to New Zealand to live temporarily whilst I planned and trained, but I soon found out that New Zealand was as target-rich of an environment as anywhere else in the West. Secondly, an attack in New Zealand would bring to attention the truth of the assault on our civilization, that nowhere in the world was safe. The invaders were in all of our lands, even in the remotest areas of the world, and there was nowhere left to go that was safe and free from mass immigration. So you see, beginning to get a little view of what was going on inside the person who wrote this manifesto's head. So we went through the terrorist attack. Now, do you personally hate Muslims? A Muslim man or woman living in their homelands? No. A Muslim man or woman choosing to invade our lands, live on our soil, and replace our people? Yes, I dislike them. The only Muslim I truly hate is the convert, those from our own people that turn their backs on their heritage, turn their backs on their cultures, turn their back on their traditions, and become blood traitors to their own race. These I hate. Do you personally hate foreigners or other cultures? No. I spent many years traveling through many, many nations. Everywhere I traveled, barring a few small exceptions, I was treated wonderfully, often as a guest, even as a friend. The varied cultures of the world greeted me with warmth and compassion. I very much enjoyed nearly every moment I spent with them. Did you commit... No, wait. So is it racist? It's worth reading. I'm not going to read every single bit of it, but it's all marked up. Were there other targets planned in your attack? Many. One thing that can be said about the current state of the West is that we live in a target-rich environment. Traitors and enemies abound. And then, are you a xenophobe? No. No culture scares me. Are you an Islamophobe? No. Are you a white nationalist? Yes, predominantly an ethno-nationalist. I place importance on the health and well-being of my race above all else. Are you a Nazi? No, actual Nazis do not exist. They haven't been a political or social force anywhere in the world for more than 60 years. Are you an anti-Semite? No, a Jew living in Israel is no enemy of mine so long as they do not seek to subvert or harm my people. Are you conservative? No, conservatism is corporatism in disguise. I want no part of it. Now, here's an interesting... seems kind of odd until you look into some of the documentation. Are you a fascist? Yes. Yes. For once, the person that will be called a fascist is an actual fascist. I am sure journalists will love that. No, because they won't report it. I mostly agree with Sir Oswald Mosley's views and consider myself an eco-fascist by nature. The nation with the closest political and social values to my own is the People's Republic of China. What? I'm not quite sure how that fits in, but it's worth mentioning.
Well, it's all worth mentioning, but you don't think this guy...
No,
this guy... a little sketchy, this whole manifesto with stuff like that?
This guy is is irrelevant. I don't think he wrote this. Let's just look at the situation. It was chosen.
I don't think he wrote it either.
Is chosen at a very specific country for specific reasons. I'm looking at what happened in the document, not this guy. And I'm not calling it a false flag because it's a very sophisticated operation. The weapons where he has all this writing on them and it's heroes and it's the dates of holding back the Ottoman Empire. That was meant to be found. It was meant to show this so people maybe start researching it or thinking about it. It's very obvious. This is a mind bomb. It's to get people to look at stuff.
That's a possibility. I want to mention something else, though.
But just about the video for a second. This was very well done. First-person shooter view with, I don't know if it was a helmet GoPro or one on his chest.
GoPro.
I mean, but it was the angle, everything was just like a video game. I've spoken to kids who have seen it, kids in the 20s who've seen it. Actually, kind of underwhelming because it's not doesn't look as violent as a video game does often. And the sound, the microphones can't capture the sound of something, of a weapon like that going off. It just doesn't sound the same as in real life. So it pop, pop, pop sounds kind of phony. But the way that was done, I would say was very, very smart and meant to get the attention of young people.
I would like to know, a couple of things. One, we on this show had predicted that this streaming on Facebook would end up with something like
bad. Yes. In fact, there was I got some NPR clips about this too. And they have all kinds of online terrorism experts who work at NPR and NBC. I guess they're experts. But let's talk about this streaming. Yeah, what are we going to do?
Katie Maceras is a cybersecurity expert, and she says...
she's a security expert, sorry.
Perhaps we should consider the possibility that not everyone should be able to live stream.
It's not a bad idea to potentially have only specific verified accounts allowed to post. And if something that they post that is live streamed does contain violence or hate speech, that privilege goes away.
But she understands that's going to cause a lot of controversy.
I mean, can you imagine? Facebook and Twitter and Periscope saying, all right, you have to be verified now in order to be able to stream.
About who is allowed freedom of speech.
Look, here's the thing about free speech and free expression. It's a messy proposition, and there's always going to be abuse.
Al Tompkins is a senior faculty at the Poynter Institute. He teaches ethics.
It's true offline. It's true online. And if you intend to give people the ability to communicate freely with each other, it's going to be messy. And some people are going to abuse it, but most people won't.
Twitter and YouTube have both condemned the attacks and said they are working to bring down any video of the shooting. Facebook said in a statement it moved quickly to take down the shooter's Facebook and Instagram accounts and the video. It also said it is, quote, removing any praise or support for the crime and the shooter or shooters.
Now,
well, wait, stop. What she said at the end there, shooter or shooters, I want to mention this just so we can get out of the way.
Yeah.
When the reports first started coming in, there were four people involved in these shootings.
Yeah.
And there was at two different mosques, and those two mosques weren't very close to each other. Now, that one guy reported off the street saying this guy's driving around shooting randomly at any Muslims he saw, which I thought was a little nuts.
Yeah.
And then he went to the one mosque and shot most of the people, and then he went to another mosque and shot a bunch of people. And then over time, the two, and it was supposed to be two guys, one hitting the two mosques simultaneously with two partners, and they in fact did arrest 3 men and 1 woman who were somehow involved, and that's all gone by the wayside.
In his document, he speaks specifically about the 3 mosques he is going to target. He says, I'm going to do the first one, then go to the second one. And if I have time, if I can get away with it, I'm going to go to a third one. So, and that is all spelled out in the document. But this is, I have never really gone in depth on 4chan and 8chan. It's beyond me. It's above me. I'm too old. I'm what these people would consider a normie, maybe a hyper normie, because I can kind of fathom what's going on there. But a lot of massive memes, things that become part of our lexicon, come from these groups. And it's to me, it's very much like, Matrix-y underground type groups, and they lead a different life, and they get off on having the media being influenced by what they do. So this little section here, where did you receive, research, or develop your beliefs? He says, the internet, of course. You will not find the truth anywhere else. That's a 4chan, 8chan sarcastic joke, and all of this is in there. So right after another. Were you taught violence, extremism by video games, music, literature, and cinema? And he says, yes, Spyro the Dragon taught me ethno-nationalism. Fortnite trained me to be a killer and to floss on the corpses of my enemies. No. And then finally, and this is how I believe you should read this, is there a particular person that radicalized you the most? Yes. The person that has influenced me above all was Candace Owens. Each time she spoke, I was stunned by her insights, and her own views helped me push further and further into the belief of violence over meekness. Though I will have to disavow some of her beliefs, the extreme actions she calls for are too much, even for my tastes. And anyone asking why, it's like, it's the part of the same sarcastic joke. It's
sarcastic material.
Yes.
Candace Owens has never.
It's 8chan material. It's 8chan material. And then here, the final step, which I think is the final step of his plan. Why do you believe you will be released from prison? I do not expect to be just released. I also expect an eventual Nobel Peace Prize, as was awarded to the terrorist Nelson Mandela once his own people achieved victory and took power. I expect to be freed in 27 years from my incarceration, the same number of years as Mandela for the same crime. There's something to be said for it. Not the way he did it, but, Mandela was involved in some stuff. Wasn't that why they threw him in jail?
It was one of the reasons they threw him in jail.
Are you a Fed/shill/Mossad agent/false flag/patsy/infiltrator/Antifa/glow-in-the-dark, etc.? No, but the next person to attack could be. So a healthy skepticism is a good thing. Just do not allow your skepticism to turn to paranoia and keep you from supporting those that want the best for you. And I found this. Is this your complete writings and views? Unfortunately not. There was a much larger work written, roughly 240 pages. This one is about 80. That spoke on many issues and went into much depth, but in a moment of unbridled self-criticism, I deleted the entire work and started again 2 weeks before the attack itself. I was left with a short period of time to create a new work and only leave my views half-finished. I will let my actions speak for themselves. Now, I don't know what that is why that's in there, but you don't delete anything, even off of a hard drive, so if they can retrieve anything, it'd be interesting to see what
He doesn't do anything. He's full of shit, this guy.
And then there's, again, this guy is, the guy himself who's in jail, I don't think is important. It's part of a culture that we really don't know anything about. And yeah, I think he's obviously nuts, but there are people behind him who wrote this. And again, it's not a false flag. It's a real operation.
Well, false flags are real operations.
Right, but it's not like a country or, who said, oh, let's do this, or let's do this. It's not the government. It's not the government doing this to get.
We have to remember that
get rid of guns.
It has a problem with our show, and I think the way people look at these things. There's differences between false flags, real operations that are false flags, and hoaxes, where nothing happens and it's all bullcrap.
Right.
Which we've identified a few of those over time. But this definitely was not that.
No. And then he has notes to different groups of people. He says to conservatives, ask yourself truly, what has modern conservatism managed to conserve? He says the natural environment, Western culture, ethnic autonomy, religion, the nation, the race, nothing is conserved. The natural environment is industrialized, pulverized, and commoditized. So he hates conservatives. And then to Christians, he posts 2 passages from the Bible, which I don't recognize and are not marked, so I don't know where they're from. To Antifa, Marxists, and communists, I do not want to convert you. I do not want to come to an understanding. Egalitarians and those that believe in hierarchy will never come to terms. I don't want you by my side, and I don't want you to share power. I want you in my sights. I want your neck under my boot. See you on the streets, you anti-white scum. And then to Turks, and he's very specific about, and this comes right back to Constantinople, which is today's modern Istanbul. Turks, you can live in peace in your own lands and may no harm come to you. On the east side of the Bosphorus, which is the traditional divide, where we have the devout Islamists, and then it used to be secular on the western side. He goes on to say, if you attempt to live in the European lands anywhere west of the Bosphorus, we will kill you and drive you roaches from our lands. We are coming for Constantinople. We will destroy every mosque and minaret in the city. The Hagia Sophia will be free of minarets, and Constantinople will be rightfully Christian-owned once more. This is at one point was the largest, it was a cathedral, the Hagia Sophia, which was Christian-run, and then it became a mosque. And so I guess that's an important symbol for guys like this. And who is truly to blame? The people who are to blame most are ourselves. European men, strong men, do not get ethnically replaced. Strong men do not allow their culture to degrade. Strong men do not allow their people to die. Weak men have created this situation, and strong men are needed to fix it. And then he has a whole list about Wikipedia links of European women invaders, the rape of European women invaders. And it's more than just Rotherham. If you look at the list, it's got Rotherham, Aylesbury, Banbury, Bristol, Derby, Halifax, Huddersfield, Cayley, Newcastle, Rochdale, Oxford, Peterborough. This is the stuff that Tommy Davidson went to jail for talking about this. This is all mainly British places. Then we have Ashfield, Sydney, Finland. So this is not a cut and paste. He's showing all the different places where this is happening. He talks about the radicalization of Western man, about the pedophile rings, the failure of assimilation. Green nationalism, he says, is the only true nationalism. There is no green future with never-ending population growth. The ideal green world cannot exist in a world of 100 billion, 50 billion, or even 10 billion people. Continued immigration into Europe is environmental warfare and ultimately destructive to nature itself. So interesting alignment with the greenies there. And then he does call for the death of certain people, which has also not been mentioned. And I think, it's in the document. And he says, look, you can do TATP packages strapped to drones, in motorcycle saddlebags. You can convoy ambush, rammings.
This is the reason they don't want people talking about the document, perhaps, that particular entry.
I don't even think they read this far. I don't think they ever even saw it. No.
Well, if it's our media, that's for sure.
Well, let's see who needs to die. Merkel, the mother of all things anti-white, anti-Germanic, is top of the list, he says. Few have done more to damage and racially cleanse Europe of its people. Erdogan, the leader of the oldest enemies of our people and the leader of the largest Islamic group within Europe. He's very specific. This warlord must bleed his last while he visits his ethnic soldiers currently occupying Europe. His death will also drive a wedge between the Turk invaders currently occupying our lands and the ethnic European people, while simultaneously weakening Turkey's hold on the region.
Well, let's just read the list. I don't need all the details.
Sadiq Khan, mayor of London.
It's just the usual suspects.
Yes. And then he says, and we can leave it at this. The paradox of the diverse equality. The greatest joke of all is the quixotic foolishness of the diverse but equal society. Diversity.
Yeah, I read that sentence, and I think the use of the word quixotic by a guy like this is
no way.
Extremely unlikely.
I don't even know what it means.
Quixotic refers to Don Quixote and the shaking your fist at
tilting
windmills.
At windmills. Okay. Well, he may have gotten this from somewhere else, but he says diversity by its very definition belies equality. No two different things can ever truly be equal, especially humans. There is no one person equal to any other, not identical twins, not countrymen, not workers within a class group, and certainly not those of different races. Every human is worth only their own value, no more or less. The more diverse a group becomes, the less equal it becomes. diversity is anathema to equality. One cannot exist with the other, which is true. All right, so
well, I don't know whether that's true or not.
Well, diversity and equality in people, you can't. I agree with that.
It's philosophical. It could be argued every which way forever.
Mm-hmm.
He's not buying this guy. I mean, this everything you read just doesn't sound like this, like this. Who this guy is? He's a high school dropout using the words like quixotic, and then he's philosophizing about diversity versus equality. I mean, this is stuff of very high end intellectuals that sit around bitching. What am I saying? Discussing these topics.
Yes.
Using all kinds of. It's just this thing is very. I think that's going to be shown that this guy didn't even travel around Europe.
This guy, but again, John, I'll just repeat it. This guy is not. This document is not this guy. We agree on that. So while everyone's focusing on this guy, this thinking is out there. This thinking is not him in a vacuum. This thinking is amongst people, not the killing and the death, but the
no, I am not
despair.
Argue. Obviously, this thinking is out there because somebody put that document together, whether it was him or whoever.
Exactly.
But it's not. I think there's a lot of stuff in that document that is something to be concerned about.
Yes, and especially when he starts using code.
The tone of this document is all about the internet. He writes it in this sort of snarky adolescent style, and especially there's this lengthy self-interview he does, sort of imagining what the media might ask him. It's really self-important, but it's also full of all these winking references to internet memes. And it's very self-aware. At one point, he even says that his racist project relies on, quote, edgy humor and memes in the vanguard stage in order to attract young people.
Can you give us an example of that?
Well, probably the one everyone's talking about is how when he was streaming live video during his attack, right at the start, he says, subscribe to PewDiePie. Now, that sounds bizarre to the average grown-up, but you need to understand that PewDiePie is this Swedish video game playing YouTube star, and his crown as the most subscribed to person on YouTube had been threatened by another YouTube account out of India. So for a lot of people, or some people, subscribe to PewDiePie is sort of internet code for supporting white Europeans.
Well, I suppose you could make that interpretation.
Well, but it doesn't really matter because the interpretation, that's NPR. This is the interpretation that's being made. So what I see happening is a meme-filled document which is meant to be cherry-picked from. It's set up that way. It's happening, and it's delighting people who have this similar invader belief. But when it's described on television as crazy white supremacists don't read the document, this should be discussed and explained in schools because it's very easy for these children, any child, to fall into this, and I consider anyone under 30 eligible for this kind of bull. So
I am concerned about, and that is probably the fourth meme to come out of this. Besides, it's a 9/11. Blogs should be monitored, and blogs should be licensed. And it's terrorism, or why isn't it terrorism? I think the fourth meme coming out of this is this. Don't read the document.
Yeah, here's the online terrorism expert from NBC, and he's on NPR. And of course, he knows how. Yeah, he really understands what's going on. It has nothing to do with the document. See, it's Silicon Valley.
Did you say recommendation algorithms? What exactly is that?
Yeah. Oh, sure. So say on YouTube,
sure. There it is. Sure. Hey, sure. Yeah, sure.
Did you say recommendation algorithms? What exactly is that?
Yeah. Oh, sure. So say on YouTube, you're looking at a YouTube video, and there's a thing on the right sidebar. It auto-plays afterwards, right? It just gives you another video after the fact just to keep things moving, right?
Right.
A lot of extremism groups have gamed this system as a way to try to get their outreach through YouTube and Facebook as well. And what they'll do is they'll take these ideas that will slowly sort of seep into your idea that maybe you should be more militant. Maybe it's not acceptable that that immigration is at highs in your country or something like that. And then they say eventually to act on it. Yeah.
This guy could have, obviously we don't know a lot at this point, but someone like this could be radicalized in that way if they were active on sites like that.
Oh, absolutely. And we've seen this over and over again. We've seen this with the synagogue shooter in the United States as well, where he's in these spaces. This guy was on 8chan. That's where he posted his manifesto and the link to the live stream as well. That's how people sort of found it and started watching it in real time. 8chan is a message board that's effectively like an extremist message board. It's extremely anti-immigrant, extremely racist, and completely anonymous unless you out yourself like this guy did. Once you're all the way down that path, it's really hard to turn back. And that's the other thing, is that these companies really don't take the steps in time to get people who are, not that dangerous to stop them from getting all this content in their system and, drumming up fears within themselves and then eventually carrying out a racist terror attack.
Okay, so what these morons don't understand is that places like 4chan and 8chan, they're not like companies, necessarily. And it doesn't matter. You can take it down. You can take it all down. The internet is a network and can and will be utilized by anyone who wants to communicate. In fact, you're having an adverse effect by taking these places down and removing people from speech. And I already see in the troll room, like, what idiot will read this and get radicalized? I think more than you would even dare imagine. It's really, it doesn't take much when you see the changes that young people up to 30 have witnessed in Europe. I can't speak for the U.S. is different. We're an immigration country. This is what we are, is who we are. The argument of people coming in illegally is different from we don't want people, which is what Trump is always accused of, is not true. But in Europe, these are not traditional immigration countries. We had guest workers in every country, and this is now, by many, perceived to be an invasion. Living in some shitty-ass town in France or the Netherlands or Belgium or England, and then all of a sudden your entire street view changes is not to be taken lightly. And then you add some of this stuff, and you add some historical stuff about the Vatican, the Vienna and the Ottoman Empire and the Crusades and the Knights Templar. And it's not hard to get an imaginative young person to say, hey, wait a minute. And you take this document, it should be dissected, deconstructed, and spoken with about people in schools, because if not, they're going to interpret it in ways that will cause more violence. And so fuck you, media, for doing what you're doing. Blame it on Trump. That is the worst. That is exactly the wrong way to go. And it's kind of what this guy's hoping for, or whoever wrote this group. I'll say it's a group who wrote this document.
Yeah, well, blame it on Trump.
Sadly. Well, there's a couple of things being blamed on Trump, but before we get to that, can we take a break?
Well, I'm good.
Let me thank you for your courage. Say in the morning to you, John C., the man who put the C in compendium, Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning to all the ships at the sea and all the feet in the water, the subs in the air, and the dames and knights out there.
Yes, in the morning to the troll room. That's noagendastream.com, where you can listen to a pre-stream before we even start at 11 Central Time, Thursdays and Sundays. That's the other Thursday, and then we always do it live, and we love seeing everyone there. You can help out, pass off one-liners, your thoughts, your experience, or just be a troll. That's why it is the troll room. Also, in the morning to CSB, who brought us the artwork for episode 1120. Title of that was Sure. And it was a great piece. It was
Sure.
3.14 for Pi Day, mirrored in the font he chose, looks like Pi. P-I-E. 314 P-I-E. Coincidence? I think not. And we like that a lot. And there were some other interesting pieces of art that we didn't go for. And I think this was just the one that jumped out the best. Remember, we have to shrink it down. It's not the size you send it at. It's usually about half that for most people who are viewing the artwork on, little thumbnails. Yeah. So it's important that it's large enough.
The way it shows up on the art generator, which is even bigger than in some instances, as opposed to full size.
Yeah, exactly.
But the way, which if you look at it at the art generator, small size, and you can't read it and you can't see all these little details, although you can see them fine at full size. Those are not going out at full size. They're going out at
it's like 256.
And they have to be
They have to be designed appropriately.
Yes, and Most of the artists know this.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, CSB.
Apparently they don't all know it.
And you can check out all the artwork at noagendaartgenerator.com. And now we're running a little behind today, but now is the time for us to thank our executive and associate executive producers.
Starting with Daniel Galloway, who came with $406 from Marietta, Georgia. And he sent a note in, which is not much of a note. He's going to be knighted today. He's on the list.
Okay. 406, interesting amount. I wonder what that's about.
His note is mostly just numbers.
Okay.
Numbers, pages and pages of numbers to.
Does this turn out to be another happy prime?
No, just lots of numbers.
Okay.
The PayPal account is tied to Radix. I've been in the troll room for the last year or so as Radix 023 and still don't look like a middle-aged lesbian, Adam.
What? Who did this is your bit. Or am what is he saying?
I don't know. It's a reference to you, so it must have been something you said.
I don't know. Sorry. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't.
I have been in the troll room for the last year or so as Radix 023, and I still don't look like a middle-aged lesbian, Adam.
Wow. I don't know. I don't know what. Maybe
I would like to claim this title of Sir Spud the Mighty.
Do I look like a middle-aged lesbian? Maybe that's it. Okay. Well, thanks. I think.
Maybe that's what he's trying to tell you. Sir Nubbin, 33333. I'd like Jobs Karma and Goat Karma, as I recently was walked out the door at an Amazon job I had. Walked out the door.
Yeah, do tell.
Yeah, more details would be nice. Also, with this donation, I should now have a little change of baronet. This is a change of baronet. Means to change to baronet.
I think he becomes a baronet today.
Scott and Elizabeth.
Whoa! He needs his Jobs and Goat Karma.
I'm sorry.
Got to give the man what he needs.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
Unceremoniously walked out the door.
Karma.
We need to know more about this.
You put your stuff in this box. Guy with a gun.
Could be.
Scott and Elizabeth Littler in Nashville, Tennessee, 333. Today's 333 donation is in the name of my daughter, Elizabeth. I am committed to support the show at $5 an episode, and the last $520 payment was on show 1056, Q Vision. That was a great episode of the best podcast in the universe. We hope for its like today. The next time we donate at the end of July, Elizabeth will be coming into her damehood.
Nice.
In my honest opinion, Nashville, Murfreesboro is a hot spot for a Curry Dvorak meetup.
Yes, we have discussed
if I'm not mistaken, Adam was last there in 2009 with a Hot Pockets tour.
Yeah.
I was tied up taking care of this much younger Elizabeth that night, and I couldn't make it to the big show. Elizabeth would like the jingles. He's speaking for her.
Yeah.
She would like the jingles. Don't raff. Why are you raffing? And shut up, slave. And I'll take a karma. Thank you for all you entertain and inform twice weekly. Best regards,
Scott and Elizabeth. And this is for Elizabeth for a damehood. Okay.
Don't laugh. Why you are laughing? Shut up.
Shut up, slave.
Shut up.
You've got karma.
Thomas Young, $333 in Branchburg, New Jersey. And he sent a note in, very fancy note too. He runs Rum Jog Enterprises. And the check, I believe, came from Rum Jog Enterprises. As promised, here's a check for Executive Producer Show 1121. I've been listening to your great show for 6+ months. This is my first donation under the value for value model, and I feel better knowing that I'll be de-douched.
You got it.
You've been de-douched.
My company has 2 podcasts, and the quality of the No Agenda Show production is an inspiration to us both in terms of content and quality of broadcast production. My sense is that you guys are going to have your hands full as the dam feels like it's going to break soon, and all hell will be breaking loose. Maybe time to put a little Q vision glasses on for a spell. Please give me a de-douching jingle along with, you got that, with a Jobs Karma goat scream. Also, if you have any special lucky leprechaun jingles for St. Patrick's Day, one could always use some luck. Thomas Young, managing partner, Rum Jog Enterprises.
I wish I had a leprechaun. I don't have a leprechaun. I don't have anything leprechaun-y.
Yeah, you didn't prepare for St. Patrick's Day. You hate the Irish.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
I wish you wouldn't spread fake news like that, because people actually think I hate dogs.
Everybody knows I'm joking.
No, there are people who think I hate dogs.
Excuse me?
Yes.
So he has these two podcasts, and one of them is called Pardon the Disruption Podcast.
Uh-huh.
And the other one is Experience This Podcast.
Oh.
And it's about discussing emerging technologies, economy, all sorts of, the usual suspects.
The usual stuff.
Podcasting
Yeah, the usual.
titles.
Yes.
Okay. So walk me. I will say this. I'm sorry that I use that as a running gag that you hate this and you hate that. But dogs.
I don't hate dogs. I've had many
you'll feel
dogs.
a lot better with dogs now that you got your own house. And then one day, Tina's going to say, you know what would be great?
Mm-hmm.
A puppy.
Okay. It's not going to happen.
That will happen.
Maybe. You never know.
So walk. Oh, it's already happened. Is what
no, it's not. No. Just, hey, stick to your note reading.
Sir Walkman of Buckeye in Louisville is what it is. 31719 Ohio. ITM Gents, Jingle Q, Jill Abramson, Yoko Singing, and Stop the Hammering. A nice combo. These shows keep me sane from massive M5M anti-Trump messaging. No Agenda is one of the few outlets that explores the globalist agenda. F the UN, F the EU. To all the slaves out there, chip in or be a douchebag. Shout out to the troll room. If my accounting's correct, this donation should push my title up to Baron. I'd like to claim Ohio territory.
Okay, I think that's available.
Well, we're going to give it to him, but it could be under dispute.
Obviously, I read the New York Times like all day long, mainly on my iPad app.
Stop the hammering! Stop the hammering!
You've got karma.
Tracy Bassano in Madison, Alabama, 31719, this is the St. Patrick's Day donation. So we have two of these. Shout out to my smoking hot husband, John Bassano, engineer for Space Force.
Space Force.
AKA NASA.
Nice.
De-douche him.
Nice.
You've been de-douched.
Erin Gobrag, please reserve a bottle of balsamic vinegar. Jingles. Request. She's listening.
That was, that's still a good idea.
And mac and cheese, Huntsville, Alabama. Great place for the meetup.
India, Tango, Mike, stand by. 33, 33, 33. Rubbilizer out.
You slaves can get used to mac and cheese, cheap macaroni and cheap cheddar melted together.
Mac and cheese.
Karma, no karma at the end?
Was there a request for? I'll give it. I didn't see a request for karma.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
You've got karma.
Toss it in. She's the one who recognized my hilarious use of the word asalmic. Earl of Tennessee, Sir Patrick Coble is here with $317.19. He'll be our other lucky St. Patrick's Day donor. Earl of Tennessee, Patrick Coble, Sir Patrick, you can count as you should be wearing green. This can count as my green, so I don't get pinched. Ah, that's right. You get pinched if you don't wear green. Travel and jobs karma, please. Was great to see so many at the Des Moines, Iowa meetup. Sorry for missing the Austin meetup, but we had Pinewood Derby races that day. Thanks for everything I don't even know what that is.
I do.
Thanks for everything you do for our community. I'm going to keep trying to go to all of them as I can. He likes to go to the meetups.
He likes meetups.
He came out to Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a Nashville one, maybe another one. Another Sacramento train meetup, huh, John?
So I had a chat with Earl Patrick. And because I asked, well, how's the Ducatis? And I sold it because now he's into stock car racing. And I believe his son is in the Pinewood Derby. So I don't know if
Isn't that a motorcycle race?
No, I think it's...
Well, Ducati is a motorcycle.
Yeah, no, but he gave that up. That's what I said. He had to give that up because he went to stock car racing or other types of... Oh, really?
Well, then he could put a no agenda sticker.
Yes.
On the side of the stock car.
Yes. I'm pretty sure his vehicle has some no agenda stuff on it, but he'll have to send a picture. But the Pinewood Derby, isn't that the a downhill race and a little go-kart that you build yourself with your kid?
I have no idea.
I think so.
I don't know if that.
Or maybe it's the.
Well, look it up.
No, the Pinewood. It's those little cars that you make it yourself. You
for his kid.
You whittle it out of wood.
Soapbox derby race.
Yeah. Soapbox. But it's not to sit in. I think it's just the little thing that's on the track. Your own little piece of pine. That's the Pinewood Derby.
You're talking to somebody who doesn't know what you're talking
Clearly.
about.
Okay.
Yeah, clearly. I preface it with that. But Ronald.
Wait, he needs travel. Oh, he needs travel and jobs karma.
Oh, yeah, he needs his travel karma.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
You know, if you see Coble, you should talk to him about penetration testing.
Oh, believe me.
He's one of the great experts on
Well, we all know I'm the penetration expert, but okay, if you want to call him the top in the field, it's fine.
We had about computers.
Oh, yeah. We had a long chat about it.
Ronald Siderio, 31416. I've been a douchebag for far too long. Just got my bonus. I had to chip in to the best podcast in the universe. Keep up. I'm glad we got that meme going. Chip it in. Keep up the great work. I'm hopeful there will be a Florida meetup sometime in the future. Yeah, probably. Jingles D-douche. She needs a D-douching. Two to the head. Her head is gone. And the shrieking Ben Shapiro laugh.
You see, that was one of your clips, and I can't remember what you titled it. For sure, it's not titled Laugh or Shapiro. Can you remember what you might have titled that one?
Oh.
Yeah.
It was an ISO.
Yeah, it's also not under ISO. I looked.
Oh, it was an ISO, so it had to be under ISO.
No, it's not under ISO.
And it had to be within the last month. So can you look at your ISO list and date sort it and give me the last 10?
Okay, here we go. Yes, let me go back to the beginning. I am triggered. Judy. Oh, Ben Shapiro, Baby Hitlers? No, that's not it. Amy ISO. I mean, you just don't title
Baby
these
Hitler
things.
might be it. Play it.
Hold on. Baby Hitler. Let's see.
Would you kill Baby Hitler? And the truth is...
No, it's not it.
Apparently not.
I'm triggered? No. I don't know, but it's... Whatever it is, you didn't title it.
It's lost in the files.
Wait. Yes! He shoots! He scores!
And her head is gone.
And a D-douching. And a karma.
D-douche.
And a karma.
You've got karma.
That's not a bad sequence. I would like to request a redo.
A redo. Okay. 2 to the head. And her head is gone, and then the laugh. Okay.
And her head is gone.
Sick. You're sick, Dvorak. You're sick.
It tells a story.
It does.
That's the way people should think about these things.
Yes, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it has. It's a little story.
It is
in clips. There should be some. We need a word for a clip story. Baronet Sir American Carnage, $222.22. He'll be our first associate executive producer for show 1121. From Baronet Sir American Carnage, please keep me anonymous and look for information email from, I won't say his name.
He says informative.
Pretty funny, though.
Informative email.
You can put the note in there. I will do a quick search.
I have it. He said informative email. Hey, John and Adam wanted to follow up on the note from the Zoomer Yang donor to offer some. This is about what's the guy's name? This guy's first name, Yang, who's running for president.
Ying is his first name.
His name is Ying Yang. Stop. His name is not Ying Yang. What's his name?
I can't remember. Bill.
Bill Yang. Andrew. I think Ying is more racist, though. I want to follow up on the note from the Zoomer Ying Yang donor. To offer some context for Yang support, you have to think in terms of what is called accelerationism. Yes, I like this. Which is a neo-reactionary concept popular with the Zoomers. I am a young millennial, but I interact with their...
I read this note. This is a very good note.
I am a young millennial, but I interact with their milieu a lot. The Yang support ignores immigration and climate change issues with the universal basic income because, as John mentioned, the nihilism has set in. So I'm just going to, before I continue, we had a discussion about the universal basic income, and we both agreed that you cannot have open borders. You need a moat around the country if you're giving away free money for doing nothing. So he addresses why Yang supports or ignores immigration and climate change because, as John mentioned, the nihilism is set in. Accelerationism basically posits that America is headed toward doom, so the best thing to do politically is bring it down as fast as possible and grab what bags of money you can in the process. Thus, Yang appeals to the bleak, caustic, jaded Zoomer outlook of those who aren't hyper-progressive. It's equal parts meme, legitimate despair, shit-posting, and anger at Trump's failure to act on his campaign promises. In order, 1, the country is doomed. 2, the rules don't matter. 3, we might as well get that money. This is a common refrain. Sorry if this is overly long, but I think it's valuable Zoomer and Yang context. NJNK. I appreciate this story, but also the term accelerationism is fantastic. Accelerationism is what this douche in New Zealand basically did.
I would say that's true, and I will point out that accelerationism, if we're going to use the term, would account for the Dominionists during the George Bush administration, wanting to create a chaos in the Middle East to the point where it would cause the rapture.
Ah, right. So yes, you're so right. The Dominionists, can we just call them kooky religious nuts?
Well, we probably have a lot of Dominionists that listen to the show.
Really?
Mostly to go, if they only knew half the story.
No. Oh, so is this like Latter-day Saints? Only then more...
No, nothing like that. No, they're Christian fundamentalists that believe in that the end times are near. Right. And they preach around that belief.
Oh, so that's
that the end times are near. Right. Like in the next couple of days.
Now that's the guys who knock on your door with the Bible.
No, those are the Seventh-day Adventists. That's a different group. They're not Dominionists.
No. I'm not thinking of those. The other ones.
Well, there's Mormons that knock on your door. Seventh-day Adventists knock on your door. Okay. Jehovah's Witness. They are closer to that, I think.
I
don't know.
Because they're always talking about the end times.
As far as I'm concerned.
Jehovah's Witness and a lot of conspiracy theories are the same. Because I've talked to them.
Well, they do what they do. They always leave a tract if you're not there, and it's always a one-page.
Yes, and I recall them
about the end is near.
I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they showed up at my door, and I talked to them, and I just hit them with everything I had. all the like, yeah, man, that's right. It's all going down. Yeah, the internet is. And they were like,
to the extreme.
You brother,
why are you guys outside?
You brother already saved. It's like we can move on to the next house. Okay, but yes, the concept of accelerationism, which is like, like this guy said in New Zealand, I want to hasten the pendulum swinging. It's sad, but look at what we've told these Zoomers. We've told them it's the end is near. It's all over.
Yeah, that's not us telling them.
No,
you and I.
No, not you and I.
No.
No
agenda person.
No, we remain very optimistic.
It's the M5M. These people.
We remain optimistic and chipper.
Exactly. As is Jared Ottinger. He is in Dallas, Oregon. Oregon. Yes, $203.14 is his contribution. I was introduced to you guys about 9 years ago while battling cancer. You stayed with me through 3 years of chemo, although it was on again, off again. However, the last couple of years, our relationship has blossomed, and I definitely need a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
I truly appreciate the calm center that you guys provide, and I'm happy to say my son now listens as well.
Very
Please
good.
play some mac and cheese and Hot Pockets, as that's what I grew up eating, as well as an F cancer. Thanks.
Living the mac and cheese life. Mac and cheese.
Hot Pockets. Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
Sorry.
You've got karma.
Slipped a jobs karma in there for you as well, so you got a bonus F cancer and a jobs karma. Thank you, Jared. And good on you, man. Get your kid into this early. Save him.
Derek Lawless, and by the way, Lawless I think is one of the great last names. It's also a great name for a stripper.
Yes.
It's
Lucy.
Cindy Lawless.
Cindy Lawless. Do one, John. Do one, Cindy.
20117. Thank you for running such an entertaining and informative show. Thank you especially for your consistent promotion of the value for value model. I have been using something similar for nearly a decade to promote our family business. D Lawless Hardware.
Yes, this is Derek. Yes, he sent us the stuff you can stick on the drywall. It holds 40 pounds. Yes. Yes.
He's at dlawlesshardware.com.
Yeah. dlawlesshardware.com.
Our site is filled with work from small businesses which I provided hardware to in exchange for photography featuring that hardware. This set up a boon to us and our partners, producers, as hardware is costly to them while photography is costly to me. Getting creative with how one provides value is key. It's called bartering in this case, to success in the modern business. And the IRS hates it, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Do they?
Environments, there are surely more ways than money to provide value. That said, there's always money. Please tell the listeners that code No Agenda will get them 10% off any order from D Lawless Hardware. So there's a code. Put code No Agenda in there because it probably has a box. I have purchased products from other No Agenda producers, and it's a great way to support the like-minded people. In my mind, the only real power most of us slaves have is the way we spend our money. Buying something from a small or independent business or donating to No Agenda may very well be the most impactful thing you do each day. Thanks for the plug. No agenda, no jingles, no karma.
And I'd like
KD9 H2ZT 73s.
Yes, Kilo 5 Alpha Charlie 73s, and this is a good time to promote the Gitmo list. And if he's not in here or on here, I'm sure the Gitmo list guys will put it on gitmolist.org, GITMOLIST.org. And that's where you can find a lot of no agenda related businesses and just all kinds of stuff. Also, just ancillary sites with nuttiness that we have had that has glommed onto us into this sticky ball of deconstruction over the years. Thank you very much.
No agenda goodness.
A sticky ball of no agenda goodness. Thank you very much, Derek Wallace.
1121. We want to thank all these folks for executive producing this show, and we have others to thank later, but these are the top of the list because they get the full credit.
Yeah, just like Hollywood, where we give you your credits, your executive producer credit, associate executive producer credit, they are valuable and recognized and very valuable, actually, where credits are recognized. So put it anywhere that makes sense. Certainly your LinkedIn profile, people put them in their email signature, and Twitter names also seem to be not the actual @ sign, but then, whatever your handle is at the top, that people put in their executive producer or their associate executive producer status. Thank you so much. And remember, we have another show coming up on Thursday. You can support that one as well by going to Dvorak.org/NA. Well, I think you've got enough on that manifesto. You can call it a little bit of formula. Go propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Oh my God. Shut up, slave.
So there's a couple of things I want to talk about. I want to get these one clips out of the way because there's some information here that is necessary. There's this joker. Used to be the governor of Massachusetts. He's getting all kinds of play on the media because he's going to be a Republican running against Trump.
Perfect.
Bill Weld's his name.
What is he? Where's he from? Well, we know where he's from. What has he done?
He was the governor of Massachusetts, and then he got booted out. He's actually a dummy because what happened was, I think when he was governor of Massachusetts, to get him out, because you don't need these Republicans in Massachusetts, Bill Clinton offered him the ambassadorship to Mexico.
Oh, classic. Hey, that's like Uncle Don after Iran-Contra. Hey, you're now the ambassador to South Korea. Yeah. Go far away.
So the guy quit his governorship and goes to become ambassador to Mexico, which has got to be a thankless job. It's useless. And then he came back after Clinton got kicked out. He tried to run for Senate. He tried to get back in the poli. He couldn't win anything. He's a douche. And I'm going to prove it by playing some of his clips about how he's going to beat Trump.
Okay.
He's going to beat Trump because he's all into all kinds of stuff that you never imagined. Start with.
Is he a cage fighter?
Let's start with clip 2.
Okay.
Basket as the late head of the American Nazi Party. Am I correct?
That's tough. It says 2. It says Bill Weld on podcast 2, Climate.
Okay. Sorry.
You want to play it? Still play it?
Yeah, play it.
I'm putting them in the same sentence. But, I think the president, he makes no bones about the fact. He says, America First, which was Charles Lindbergh's fifth column before World War II. And he says, I'm a nationalist. Well, it is the party that took over in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. So that's the Nationalist Workers' Party.
Governor, you've broken with the president and really the rest of the party on climate change. What do you see as the best policy to reduce carbon emissions, considering the scale that they're on and the sense of emergency that surrounds it?
Well, I think we should rejoin the Paris Climate Accords for openers and adopt percentages that are consonant with our responsibility. On the issue of climate, there's a divide between the developed nations and lesser developed countries. I think what President Trump would like to do is say, well, we've gotten the benefits of the Industrial Revolution. Now you have to agree, you and your rainforests, not to emit any carbon dioxide, and we don't care if you ever develop because we've got ours. Again, that's an unattractive point of view.
That's not what anyone's thinking. But let's go back to what he said at the beginning, and that's, I think, is in clip 1.
Okay.
I think the president, he makes no bones about the fact. He says, America First, which was Charles Lindbergh's fifth column before World War II. And he says, I'm a nationalist. Well, it is the party that took over in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. So that's the Nationalist Workers' Party.
Yeah, okay.
This is bullcrap.
It's total bullcrap. It's a lie.
Let me
it's
give
actually
you the
a
name
lie.
of these parties.
Yes.
The Nazi Party was the National, not the Nationalist, the National Socialist Workers' Party.
Yes.
The National Socialist Workers' Party. The Nationalist Workers' Party did exist It was a fringe party in, of all places, New Zealand.
Ah! Well, we know about New Zealand.
This guy is a dick because he's used the word nationalist when the Nazis were the National Socialist
Workers'
Party. So this guy's full of crap. The guy doing the interview, he doesn't say anything.
He doesn't know, John.
He doesn't know jack.
Yes.
So we go along with this joker and this Bill. And just play this last clip. This is where he's going on. And I think his real concern is a lot of these old Republicans that are pretty staid, and they think Trump's a jerk because he doesn't have comportment, which is a word that I don't think I've ever used. But
comportment is that in this clip? The word comport.
Yes, you can play it.
All right. Well, you better be ready to explain to me what it means.
Well, I think that on the international front, the president has totally upended the correct order of things. He's insulting our allies, and his favorite foreign leaders are the ones who are autocratic or despotic. I think his interactions with the Justice Department, starting with Jim Comey, even Jeff Sessions, don't bespeak any notion of fidelity to law. The sign that's on the Justice Department building at 10th and Constitution in Washington, a government of laws and not of men, that's pretty deep in our history, and the president seems to have no interest in that. There's just a lot of issues out there in addition to the bedrock issue of comportment in office. There's climate change, there's treaties. I thought it was a blunder not to join the Trans-Pacific Partnership, for example.
Okay. So he's also
comportment is behavior. Comportment.
Yeah, it means proper behavior.
Yes. Oh, yes. Comportment. Yes.
Proper behavior. The expected behavior.
Presidential.
Nuance, word.
Presidential behavior.
So then the Trans-Pacific Partnership, he says that he's a huge mistake. Does this guy know what the Trans-Pacific Partnership says? Because no one else
seems to know. Some people. Well, he may actually have read some of it.
I doubt it.
As a governor, he might have gotten something. Yeah, I think the governor's got some.
It's a secret document.
Yeah, not all, but
who's for a secret document? You don't need to know what it says. This guy's a total creep.
Yes.
Anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Well, just as we're talking about
out there,
like a Trump rotation thing, it's whizzing around very quickly. Actually, during the whole New Zealand initial coverage, Scott Adams is on a quixotic. There it is. I'll use it on a quixotic.
Well, yeah, now we're using it.
Yes, Scott Adams is on a quixotic crusade. Very nice, quixotic crusade.
That's kind of redundant, actually, but go on.
Well, it's a crusade.
Not totally.
No, quixotic means it ain't working. And because the mainstream continuously lies, they don't know better, so I can't really call it an intentional lie, but it's an M5M lie, that the president said there are good people there in the alt-right Charlottesville side. And, Scott Adams is tweeting the literal translation where actually Trump said exactly the opposite.
The transcript.
Transcript, I'm sorry. Where Trump actually said, why I should read it. Why don't I just read it while I'm here anyway? Do I have it here? I have it in the.
Well, Diamond and Silk played a clip of him, and he starts the whole thing off by bitching and moaning about Nazis and white supremacists, which everybody in the media completely ignores to the point where they're saying he's never rebuked them. When he rebuked them in this statement.
Yeah, here. So this is what Scott Adams is tweeting around. So I will just read the highlighted bits that Scott Adams is tweeting. Trump. Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo-Nazis, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group. Excuse me. I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. And then the reporter jumps back in, but the highlighted bit, right after this statement, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. but you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group, also, you had some fine people, but you also, this is the left Antifa, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group, too. So factually, Trump did not say what people keep propagating, like fine people there, those Nazis. And anyway, Scott Adams valiantly trying to convince people to see. I don't know why he, of all people, cannot understand that once someone is under hypnosis, it's very hard to get them out of it.
And he's a hypnotist.
Right? Of all people.
Yeah. Great that's a great,
it's very ironic. That is very ironic. Now,
I like that.
Something else happened with a seemingly kind of who gives a crap, because I don't read it, interview in Breitbart. It was an exclusive headline. President Donald Trump, Paul Ryan blocked subpoenas of Democrats. So that's a story I would not read in a million years. But they all poked out one little itty-bitty piece, and let's turn it into...
President Trump saying his police and military supporters could make things very bad for his opposition. Here's the quote that he said to Breitbart. This is the president. You know, the left plays a tougher game. It's very funny. I actually think that the people on the right are tougher, but they don't play it tougher, okay? I can tell you, I have the support of the police, the support of the military, the support of the bikers for Trump. I have the tough people, but they don't play it tough until they go to a certain point. And then it would be very bad. Very bad. Abby Phillip is out front at the White House.
And by the way, I want this woman to come in for a second. By the way, no, actually, I'll read you what was actually said first, and then let her come in. This was everyone. This is before the New Zealand mosque massacre took place. This was in heavy rotation. Oh my God! And they were conflating it with other things Trump has said, not in this interview, but as an example. Well, I can stand on Fifth Avenue, shoot anyone, no one would care. So they're taking this little bit and
love using that one
and making it sound like he's threatening to use the military, the police, and bikers for Trump, because when that's right up there with those other two. So here's what actually was in the article, and it's just worth showing to you what the media does. I don't care if you like Trump or not. This is just it's a lie. It's disingenuous by its very nature of omission. So he's talking about Paul Ryan and what Paul Ryan wouldn't do. And then it says, Trump's comments came in a wider part of the conversation about how the left is more, quote, vicious than the right, and that the left in American politics plays, quote, cuter and tougher. Here's the quote. So here's the thing. It's so terrible what's happening, Trump said when asked by Breitbart News deputy political editor Amanda House about his anticipated executive order on campus free speech. It's about the campus free speech, about violence on campuses by the left against people who want free speech. Quote, the left plays a tougher game. It's very funny. I actually think that the people on the right are tougher, but they don't play it tougher, okay? I can tell you I have the support of the police, the support of the military, the support of bikers for Trump. I have the tough people, but they don't play it tough until they go to a certain point, and then it would be very bad, very bad. But the left plays it cuter and tougher. Like with all the nonsense they do in Congress, with all this investigations. That's all they want to do is, they do things that are nasty. Republicans never played this. So he's talking about something completely different. He's talking about an attitude. He's actually saying, look at the restraint that people have put in against the actual violence. Weren't some Republicans shot at? Like Steve Scalise almost died by someone on the left.
Some maniac shot a bunch of Republicans playing baseball.
Well, let's bring in Aaron Burnett's reporter to see how it's interpreted over on CNN's.
Abby, this sounds like a threat.
Well, sir, a lot of people are certainly taking it that way, Aaron. And it's not the first time that President Trump has used almost identical language to talk about his supporters in this way, talking about the military, the bikers for Trump, and others who he says are tough, and tough in a very specific way. The president also implying in this quote that the left is tough, too. He used this language when he was talking about Antifa, saying that his supporters might be able to go up against Antifa at a campaign rally back in September. in Missouri. And many people remember back in the campaign, President Trump talked about Second Amendment people, people referring to people who advocate for gun rights in this country, being able to stop Hillary Clinton from appointing judges, left-leaning judges to the court if she were elected president. So this is a president who has repeatedly used this kind of language, sometimes playing fast and loose with his words and leaving it open to interpretation for people to believe that this is a door open to people who might want to use violence in the public sphere. The president almost never clarifies, and the White House certainly doesn't either. But a lot of people raising more questions about the president's language here and why he doesn't do more to be clearer about his words if violence is not, in fact, what he is implying here, Aaron.
All right, Abby, thank you very much. And a really good point, right? If violence isn't what you're trying to talk about, then why are you talking about things getting very bad when you're talking about your supporters as the police and the military as monolithic groups?
So you see what they've done. There's like, take this out of an interview that has nothing to do with him threatening anybody and then conflate it with other things he said. And now, a dictator. He's going to use the military. If he isn't reelected, he'll have the Bikers for Trump go and enforce him staying in the White House. Oh, yeah. Now, I'd like to do a similar job for Beto O'Rourke. I'm going to defend him a little bit. So the word came down, Beto O'Rourke, he was a hacker. Well, he wasn't really a hacker, but he was in the cult of the dead cow, and he did crazy rhymes. I don't know, how old was the guy? 19, 18, 20? It doesn't matter. It's like, okay, fine. But then, he has very weird things. Now, the controversy about these very weird things is that apparently Reuters knew he had written something odd back in the Cult of the Dead Cow days, 1988, which you and I remember the Cult of the Dead Cow. It's like, whatever. Whatever. It was fine. You know, was it a sophisticated hacking group? No. You know, there were some phone freakers and stuff in there, but it was underground stuff. It was alt. Probably alt something. So the piece... alt. So Reuters knew that there was this story out there before the Senate election, is my understanding, and they held back on it by request until after the race ran, and now it's come out, and it's like some douchey story. It's a very short story, but the way the headlines read is, Beto wrote about fantasizing about killing children, and so they actually will, if they cite any of it, they'll cite this. As I neared the young ones, I knew, however, that this happiness and sense of freedom were much too overwhelming. This happiness was mine by right. I had earned it in my dreams. As I neared the young ones, I put all my weight on my right foot, keeping the accelerator pedal on the floor until I heard the crashing of the two children on the hood, and then the sharp cry of pain from one of the two. I was so fascinated for a moment that when after I had stopped my vehicle, I just sat in daze, sweet visions filling my head. And so that's what is published. So like, wow, the guy's kind of creepy. He's writing stories about...
He's a psycho.
So let me read the next piece. The last sentence, I was so fascinated for a moment that when after I had stopped my vehicle, I just sat in a daze, sweet visions filling my head. My dream was abruptly ended when I heard a loud banging on the front window. It was an old man who was using his cane to awaken me. He might have been a witness to my act of love. I was not sure, nor did I care. It was simply ecstasy. As I drove home, I envisioned myself committing more of these acts of love, and after a while, I had no trouble carrying them out. The more people I killed, the longer my dreams were. I soon quit my job, stayed at my house in an almost comatose state. He's writing about a completely fictional thing within a fictional story.
When he says was that words he used, my love something or other, was he in his car masturbating and the old man woke him up? Is
Possibly.
Well, it sounds like.
But, it's like, it's a dream about a dream. And they you can't take these little pieces out of context of the whole. You can't even take it out of the context of Cult of the Dead Cow. You really have to.
It was 30 years ago.
I know. So now.
Well.
Is it a problem that
Beto is on the warpath? So
right,
right. I think they're trying to. I think I have 3 Beto clips.
Ooh, nice. I think. Is that nice? I think it's nice. I don't know. It could hurt.
Well, first of all, let's start with his "Never Gonna Run" clip, which a lot of people have picked up on. I will say this is not my, it's oh yeah, I see. A lot of bloggers and illegal bloggers who should be licensed and podcasts that should be licensed people have run this clip because this is Beto on 60 Minutes saying he's never going to run. He's very adamant about it, and then he's all of a sudden now he has to run.
We've heard a lot of people speculate that you and Senator Cruz may face each other again, not in a Senate rematch, but running for a higher office. What are your thoughts on running for president?
I don't want to do it. I will not do it. Amy and I are raising an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And we've spent the better part of the last 2 years not with each other, missing birthdays and anniversaries and time together. And our family could not survive more of that. We need to be together.
Yoo-hoo! A politician lied. I
know. How about that?
At least
now,
it's a politician.
The funny thing is, I think the scenario, the timeline goes like this. He says this, and now because his campaign is over, the Cruz thing, and he's getting relaxed. Now he's with the wife and 3 their old daughters, I think.
Not sure.
Well, he's got a bunch of kids, and if they're all daughters, then he would definitely run for president because he does. No man, I know a guy that's got a wife and a bunch of daughters, and he says he's just always trying to get out of the house because he says you can never win any argument. He just shakes his head. It's like apparently horror.
Hey, welcome
to be this way.
Hello. Well, I grew up.
So Beto goes home to. He says, "Holy crap! This is terrible. This family life. I'm going to run for president."
I grew up around women and gay guys, so I disagree. You can win an argument, but you have to think differently.
You grew up around women and gay guys.
Yeah.
All right, let's play. Now let's go to CBS to the Puff piece. This is a long piece because he decides to run. And everybody's all a tizzy about this because I don't know. And by the way, they keep describing this guy as a handsome man. I don't get it.
He's energetic.
I think he's goofy looking. He's got a big Adam's apple. His head is long as a horse face. He's got that upper lip that's kind of a snooty, kind of that John Elway look, like he's just like something stinks all the time. I don't see any, at least if I'm analyzing from even trying to be a female or even a gay guy trying to see if it's a good look, I can't see this guy being a handsome man. I would like someone to explain it to me. So let's play this. Let's play the CBS clip.
O'Rourke is the 13th Democrat to officially join the 2020 campaign. Gayle King sat down with him in Iowa, and Ed O'Keefe was there for his announcement.
Like he did in Texas, Beto O'Rourke kept a small footprint on his first day on the presidential campaign trail, even driving his own car.
Why'd you choose to start in this corner of the state?
This is a very important part of America that isn't listened to often enough.
It's his first ever trip to Iowa.
Good morning.
Pronounce your first name.
Beto.
Along with his name, voters are still learning what the former 3-term congressman from El Paso stands for, including universal health care, a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, and universal background checks for gun buyers. CBS This Morning co-host Gayle King spoke with O'Rourke for his first TV sit-down interview since announcing his candidacy.
People have said we had a candidate who didn't have vast political experience, and maybe now this time we need somebody in the White House who has, been around the block a few times, who has greater experience than yourself.
Right.
And clearly you're not deterred by that.
Right. I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of experience you're looking for. I've got experience hiring people, creating jobs, developing the economy of the community in which I live, serving in local government, with Amy helping to raise a family, and finding ways to work across the aisle to get legislation passed even when I'm in the minority party.
A recent poll of Iowa Democrats put O'Rourke in 5th place behind former Vice President Joe Biden, who's expected to join the race next month, and 3 senators. That's a decent start for the 46-year-old who lost the Senate race last year. But it's the fact that he lost by only 3 points in ruby red Texas and how he did it that has won him fans nationwide and worries other Democratic campaigns. He traveled with a small team, never hired consultants, and raised a record $80 million. His popularity stems in part from his constant use of social media, even during a dental cleaning.
And what is it about him that maybe piques your interest?
He just looks very charismatic and seems like he could really make a change.
President Trump said he saw O'Rourke today, too.
I've never seen so much hand movement. I said, is he crazy or is that just the way he acts?
In a new cover story for Vanity Fair magazine, O'Rourke expresses extreme confidence in his chances, saying, quote, "I am born to do this."
It's going to be so entertaining. I can't wait.
I am born to do this, he says. What an idiot.
I'm excited.
Well, anyway, he wants to impeach Trump, but he figures... And by the way, I got these two short
Is he going to do that as president?
I think so. He's going to get in there, and once he's president, he's going to impeach Trump. Which I think he's taken from Maxine Waters.
Yes, exactly.
When is she going to throw her hat in the ring? Anyway, here's Beto mouthing off on impeachment.
That if there was not collusion, there was at least the effort to collude with a foreign power. Beyond the shadow of a doubt that if there was not obstruction of justice, there certainly was the effort to obstruct justice, whether that's firing James Comey, the principal investigator into what happened in the 2016 election, or in the light of day tweeting to your attorney general, as President Trump did, to end the Russia investigation.
Because, Speaker Pelosi's gone on record. She does not think that's the way to go at this particular time.
How Congress chooses to address those set of facts and the findings, which I believe we are soon to see from the Mueller report, is up to them.
Two things. One.
Hey, where's the Mueller report?
No, it's coming up. One thing. Gail has become the new Barbara Walters. That's interesting.
Yes, I've noticed this too. They're pushing her in that direction.
Yes. So, and I think that's okay. It's a way to go.
I think her interviews she always has that kind of that pensive, painful look.
Painful,
Whatever the guy's going to say is going to hurt her.
Well, she's got to make people cry now. Then she's true Barbara Walters.
I'm in total pain. Here's the analysis of what Beto just said.
Interesting to hear that answer, Andrew. What is the message that he's sending to voters and Democrats in Congress with that position?
I think that's something you're going to hear from a lot of 2020 Democratic candidates. This idea that, I don't want to focus on impeachment right now. I'm not serving in Congress. That's for those folks to decide. I'd rather beat him at the ballot box in 2020, which is what I think that's what Beto O'Rourke is trying to convey. Of course, last year when he was running against Ted Cruz in that race, he was running as a very, very unapologetic progressive, which, the conventional wisdom was in a state like Texas, that kind of politics would not sell well to voters. Well, it sold pretty well in the sense that he came within 3 points of beating Senator Ted Cruz in a red state. So I think he's going to be able to break through some of these more established norms of Democratic politics going forward. And I think you saw that reflected in his answer, this idea that he would rather, just like all the others would, beat the president at the ballot box.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Which is exactly what this show predicted would happen with this impeachment talk. It's to keep the ball in the air, impeach. Oh, we can't. It's not going to work. Let's beat him at the ballot box. Just to get everybody. So the public at large is thinking, the guy was going to be impeached. I won't vote for him.
Before we take a break, I've been waiting for news to see what happened. As you know, John and I were part of the first podcasting network company where over the course of 10 years, I certainly discovered and analyzed and have been able to say you cannot monetize the network. It's not the way to go with podcasting. And it's been entertaining, although somewhat disheartening that we're seeing the exact same mistakes being made. It's a repeat. It's a cycle. It's the same
over and over.
Deja vu all over again. So when Gimlet Media, the podcasting pioneer, were purchased by Spotify for a purported $230 million, I was very curious to see how long it would take before certain shows that they have in their roster, which are not getting any of the money, because it's how it works. One or two shows get all the money, and everyone gets a little pittance, and it's just how it works. It's the flaw in the idea. and that you can go outside of that, and do you have paywalls? How do you lock it down? All these things are problematic. I did not expect what actually did happen, but I knew it was going to implode somehow, and I think you, of all people, John, will appreciate this. I am reading. Gimlet Media is a podcast pioneer. As one of the first companies to recognize the potential of on-demand audio, Gimlet is on the leading edge of a growing industry. Okay, I think there were other people and other companies before you, but I'll let you slide.
I think so. There's plenty.
I'll let you slide.
But I like the way you're reading it. You did that bullshit voice.
And in keeping with Gimlet's innovative ethos, we are proud. I'm not going to say it. We, the producers, engineers, hosts, editors, and reporters, are the people at Gimlet who make the podcasts. We come from public and commercial radio, print and digital media, the music industry, Hollywood, advertising, academia, and many other fields. We work hard to create some of the best audio in the world. Our editorial branded teams have won numerous awards. Our shows have been optioned for television and film. We have helped the company branch out into voice skills and advertising, and our listeners number in the millions. We love our work, and we're deeply invested in Gimlet's success. As Spotify's reported $230 million acquisition of Gimlet Media makes clear, however, Gimlet is no longer the small, scrappy operation memorably documented on the first season of Startup. We have decided to unionize. Our union is an expression of passion for what we do and a proactive effort to work with management to shape the future of the company. It is important for us to solidify the things that made Gimlet a great place to work and to address whatever issues may arise. Through collective bargaining, we will work towards a contract that includes, but is not limited to... I'll stop here for a second. So, what happened, and they've joined the Writers Guild of America East. What happened is everyone saw all the money come in. Of course, a couple guys get a ton of money because this is not an investment. It was a sale. It was an acquisition. So someone made some money. Probably the original investors, angels, but there are people now who disproportionately have more money. But as you can read in this unionization document, the people feel that they were responsible. So they're going to bargain. And they're going to put the following in the contract. Consistent and transparent job descriptions and salary bands. Straightforward processes for advancement and promotion. Clear and fair policies around contractor employment. Concrete and ambitious diversity initiatives. Equitable processes for protecting employees' intellectual property. Good luck. Clear disciplinary termination and resignation policies. And employee input in company decision-making. That's the end of that. It is not possible to make podcasts in any profitable manner with union jobs. So you'll have a union writer, a union...
You can do... The key word there is profitable.
Yes, profitable.
It's not possible.
Not possible. The market isn't there. The times have changed. It is an open network. You cannot, and even if you think you're going to do this by putting it behind a Spotify paywall, it just won't pay off. Actually. We know the numbers. Yeah, it makes it worse. It doesn't work. You have to do these things yourself, and they've fallen into a very old trap and cliche. And I tell you, they're going to be walkouts because the money won't be there. Eventually, Spotify will go, this is great. We love these 5 shows, but we really got to cut everything. Well, good luck then. And good luck.
They're going to cut
90%. It doesn't matter. 90% of all shows.
Yeah, they have a lot. They have a lot of shows, and they're going to end up with 2.
I want to say this has nothing to do with unions. I'm not against unions. This sector, I think I have some standing, Billy Bones in the troll room. This sector, you cannot make a show profitable, certainly not a network profitable with unionization. I have to be able to edit. No, now I have to go to an editor. Engineer, I can't do the stream. I got to talk to an engineer. You got to have reporters. Okay, reporters, specific category for what they're doing, if they're doing it that way. Intellectual property on what you write, good luck. That's not viable in today's world. So I thought you'd find that kind of humorous.
Yeah, I actually saw that announcement when it came out. I said they must be having nothing but trouble now that they have to unionize, because of course unionizing podcasts. I mean, this is like unionizing. You got a family of 4 and the kids decide to unionize. I mean, what am I supposed to do?
Can you imagine?
The allowance is too low.
But you know what? If the kids unionize, at least I'll know who to talk to have the trash taken out. I mean, it's not all that bad. I mean, it could have some benefit.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, this is the beginning of the end for Gimlet.
Yeah.
There's the newer ones. I mean, there's a bunch of these operations.
But John, what's worse is, just like somehow we got into this vibe with podcasting where we do all things in post. We do all the post processing. I'm Phil Spector with my wall of sound. I've got every mic individually. Oh, someone said, I'm cutting that out. So all the love is removed from the shows. All the human aspects are gone.
The spontaneity is gone.
But now there's going to be an industry. I read all of the podcast Business Journal, the podcast news, the podcast pickled thing. No, that was a while ago. But all these podcast newsletters, and they love this unionized. Oh my God! Union. Yeah, now we've got an industry. I'm a podcast editor. I should make $60 an hour. Well, you're not going to get hired very much. It's just a fact. So we recommend just giving the value for value model a try.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Let's see what we got here. We have a few people to thank, including Anonymous right at the top from Germantown, Tennessee, $101.16. He's a first-time donor. Give him a de-douching.
You've been de-douched.
Eric Hallbritter, $100. Sir Rick in Arlington, Washington, $69.96. He comes in with Baron Mark Tanner at $67.89, and Whittier and Terry Wentz in Langley, Washington, $6,006. Small boob donation. Sebastian de Stigler, $56.78.
Thanks, the Stichter.
He's in Holland somewhere.
Sebastian de Stichter, not the Stigler. Not the Stigler.
And family. Marshall Bass in U.S. somewhere. Thanks, he says. $55.55. Chase Jacobson and Noonan, Maryland. $55.55. He did send in a note.
Okay.
And there was a reason.
Yeah, you had a reason to read it. Yes. What you got?
There's a reason to read it.
There's a reason.
This is my first donation. Please de-douche me.
Okay, we can do that.
You've been de-douched.
Who wants to be a Jobs Karma? We'll give that to him at the end. I'm a 5th-generation rancher in North Dakota. If this summer is dry again, some moisture would be great. But currently, we don't need any more snow. I love the show, but I haven't been listening more than a year, and so I could go for another 11 years. Keep up the great work. I haven't been listening long enough to know how, by the way, it's handwritten, how you stand on the landowners and gun rights. But I hope we agree on these points. You don't need to read this and don't expect it. Where am I reading this?
I don't know.
He says at the end, though, sincerely, Chase, I think I'm a millennial, but I don't think it fits in, and I prefer to use – oh, okay. Sorry. That was not a great note.
I'm glad you stopped for it.
Well, did you de-douche him? Yes, you did. Sir yes. Luke, the Baron of London. Usually I put it in there for a reason. You know what it was? I probably didn't preview the note. As always, grateful. Keep up the good work, Sir Luke of London, 5510. Clayton Dunavant in Greenfield, Wisconsin, 5333. And he's got some commentary for somebody. This is one of those call-outs we have. I was called out by Sir Cherry Crumb Pie as a douchebag, which I totally am for not donating since leaving Austin 5 years ago for sunny Milwaukee.
Oh.
He's an Austonian.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't looked back since. Huh.
Huh.
I humbly request a de-douching and a...
Right, let me do the de-douching first. De-douching.
You've been de-douched.
And call out Ron A., just like Sir Cherry Crumb Pie did, as a douchebag. Douchebag. He introduced me to the show in 2012, and my recollection has never donated. What a douche. That's what it says. It's not us saying this, by the way. It's
no, not us at all, no.
No, we got nothing to do with it. Dame Jamie, hey, 5317.
Wait,
John, Knight of the St. Patrick.
Hold on. It says here, happy anniversary to husband Sir Mad Hatter from Dame Jamie. Sorry you hit your head on the bird feeder. I don't know why, but I felt that code needed to be put into the show.
I think what happened, she moved a bird feeder.
And that's how they met.
No, they've been around together, you can tell. And he bashed his head against it, and then, oh, my head will move the bird feeder. And he got all in a tiff. And so she's
apologizing. Well, that's very sweet.
Sir John, Knight of the St. Patrick in Heber Springs, Arkansas, 5317. Clay Elm.
He says, happy St. Pat's. It is, after all, he is the Knight of St. Patrick, so he is an important peerage member today.
Is that true?
It says Sir John, Knight of St. Patrick.
Yeah, I know it does say that, but I just want to be that got thrown in.
He's the patron saint of engineers.
Alchemist in Grand Rapids, Michigan, 5188. Eric Schmidt, 5150. Matthew Smith, 51. Joel DeRuin in Savannah, Georgia, 50. Chris Lewinsky in Sherwood Park, Alberta, 50. These are all $50 donors, name and locations. Paige Snakes in Amsterdam. Anonymous Scrometer, 50.
Wait a minute. Tell Adam I'm finally feeling better. My hot water bill was very high last month, or I'd be able to donate more. I consulted Sir Cal at Lavender Blossoms regarding a cure for the scromet. He suggests his new CBD with avocado oil, and sure enough, it worked. No more scrometing. LavenderBlossoms.org. All right.
John Camp in Antlers, Oklahoma. And last but not least, Sir Jerry Wingenroth in Saugus, California. I did get a note from somebody that I thought was going to get in here. I don't know if it did. It's not the Derek. I may read Derek Birdie's note later, but this other note I thought was going to be a make good, and I don't have it.
I do have a report from the Miami mini meetup, which I was unaware of.
Oh, yeah. There was a mini meetup.
Yes. ITM says, Craig, Kilo Bravo 1, Yankee Echo, 73s. Just had a great Miami ITM toast of Prosecco with Viscountess Patricia Worthington of Biscayne Bay and Baron Craig Kuttner, visiting from his territory of Northeast Georgia. Our hostess was Andrea O'Hagan, rising producer, Dame Wannabe. Fantastic. And they sent a little picture, so thank you very much for that. Make sure when you have a meetup, or if you're organizing one or want to organize one, you go to noagendameetups.com, noagendameetups.com, and you will see that today, it was probably yesterday in Sydney, March 17th, there was a meetup, so I guess they had it already, and everyone's asleep, so maybe we'll hear from them how that went. March 23, Frankfurt, Deutschland, and April 20th in Atlanta. That will be the 420 meetup in Atlanta. So probably already happened, unless they're all in a drunken stupor. The Sydney, Australia meetup, March 17th. The 23rd, Frankfurt, Germany, and Atlanta on the 20th of April. Fantastic. This is very good, these meetups. It's good. It's good for the soul. Now, the keeper initially, I said, yeah, you want to come to the meetup? She's like, I don't know. But once she went to one, she's like, these people are phenomenal. She's loved the people who come to these meetups. That's you people. Yeah. Did I tell you about the swamp people who came up from Louisiana?
Yes, you did.
I don't know if it was on the show. I don't think it was on the show. I think I talked about it.
I think it was.
I think I forgot to tell you at the Austin meetup.
Oh, it's possible. That's a problem.
And I don't remember his name. And he brought his two kids. They drove 8 hours up and 8 hours back. And he said,
covered with lichen.
No, he said, we're from the swamp. He said, we're swamp people. And the kids had like huge, like big ruffigan hair with the big dreadlock coming out of the side, and wearing.
We're sure they weren't from D.C.
Well, that could have been that. That would be true swamp people. Yeah, but it's just interesting. Pilots, teachers, dentists, dudes named Ben, LGBT,
a lot of dudes named
all the
Ben.
LGBTQ, rainbow colors, Eagle Scouts, tons of Eagle Scouts, and sometimes people are all of the above. Marines, yes, it's a fabulous group. Some spooks too.
Yeah, there's always spooks. There's usually 2 or 3 you can identify. At the Austin meetup, one of my contacts said they spotted at least 3.
Oh, sure. Okay, so we need some jobs and other karma, and then we do have a knighting, and we got some other stuff.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
And indeed, today is the 17th of March, 2019. We say happy birthday to Justin Duguid. He turns 36 years old on the 19th. And Sir Walkman of Buckeye will be on the wrong side of 40 by tomorrow. So happy birthday to you from all your friends here at the best podcast in the universe. Okay, now we have, just one knighting, so this is good. Daniel Galloway, and I'll get my blade up here. If you can get your blade,
Here's
John.
mine.
Very good. All right, Daniel. Thank you very much for your support of the No Agenda Show in the amount of $1,000 or more. This gives you a seat at the coveted round table, Daniel, and a name to covet as your own, as a knight, and I hereby pronounceicate thee Sir Spud the Mighty, Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable, and for you we have Hookers and Blow, Red Boys and Chardonnay, Cooper's Pale Ale and Kanga Burgers. We got trophies and tire smoke. We got Harlots and Haldol, Redheads and Ryes. We got Ginger Ale and Gerbils, Breast Milk and Pablum, Geishas and Sake, Rubenesque Women and Rosé, Beer and Blunts, Organic Macaroni and Plasticizers, and Mutton and Meat. So if you could take your knighted ass over to the noagendanation.com/rings website, Eric the Show will gladly help you out and get you the right size and get you your signet ring and your sealing wax and your certificate, and make sure you tweet out a picture once you receive it. Then we have a couple titles here.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't want to be a douchebag. Title changes.
We've got Sir Walkman of Buckeye becoming a baron today of the Ohio Territory. We congratulate him with that. And also Sir Nubbin becomes a baronet, and we congratulate him with his upgraded status. This is all a part of our peerage system, No Agenda, peerage, itm.im/peerage or dvorak.org/peerage.htm. And I believe we have someone working on updating the map. It was a little bit of out of date, our peerage map. There's a lot of we got some hefty peerage. Hefty peerage.
Indeed.
I got 2 things I'd like to share. Some updated information on the 737 MAX 8, MAX 9 aircraft.
Ah, yes.
And this is very interesting. One of our producers sent me a YouTube video from CNBC, and this. Let me see, who was it? He wants to be anonymous, I think. This video was posted on February 12th, 2018. So over a year ago. And it was on CNBC. And on the microphone is Captain Tager, Tager, Tager. He is the spokesperson for the Allied Pilots Association. I believe he flies for American Airlines. Again, over 1 year ago, predating the Kenya crash, predating the Lion Air crash from Indonesia. Important to remember. And here's what was discussed on CNBC.
Frankly, the Wall Street Journal, a high-ranking Boeing official said that they had made a decision to not disclose additional details about a new system that Phil Rila talked about. It's called the MCAS system. due to the fact they assumed that the average pilot would be inundated with this information, and they just thought it wasn't appropriate. And that's not only professionally insulting, it's a little bit ethically insulting, but that's okay because safety culture has many layers in it, and now that information has been provided us, and we're digesting it and understanding it better. And along with I saw in a New York Times report, the NTSB in Indonesia made similar claims that this information and this complex emergency that we're starting to learn more about, this may have been one of the issues that needs to be looked at closer. But the good news is, and I want to make clear, that 737, the old, the NG, the previous version, and the MAX, they're safe aircraft. We fly them every day, and our families are on them. But what makes it safer today is now we know more about the system.
So over a year ago, Boeing was pressured into releasing all the information about the dreaded MCAS system, which is being blamed on Indonesia. Apparently also had that information. Now, if they disseminated that to their pilots, I don't know, but I do know that when you have something called an emergency airworthiness directive, that goes throughout all layers of the aviation industry. And everyone reads these and knows about these, and this captain talks a lot about how how the safety of the system works, multiple places where redundancy is built in to make sure everyone knows when something is changed. And indeed, such an airworthiness directive, emergency directive, was issued.
Captain, there are a lot of people from the outside who are now analyzing this and trying to figure out if.
And by the way, when they're talking about analyzing this, this is pre any crash. This is before any crash. The Wall Street Journal broke the story saying, hey, Boeing has changed something and they haven't really been open with pilots.
This is a situation where the FAA needs to take more control and tell the manufacturers what needs to be done, or at least be providing more oversight. But we're all on the outside. You're on the inside. You have a very good handle on what's happening. What do you think is the proper solution to this? Does the FAA need to step in more, or is this something that industry can manage on its own?
Well, I think the FAA stepped right on up as we were hoping for. Boeing put out a notification to crews about this, and then the FAA stepped up and said, no, we're going to issue an emergency airworthiness directive. So they elevated it quickly. They were decisive, and that got our attention. It got our company's attention, and very quickly we received information from Boeing that was very helpful. So we're pleased, and we look forward to that type of team effort going forward. And we encourage Boeing to continue to join us and step into the circle of trust, and let's get this done right.
So if we have this emergency airworthiness directive, which, when I was living in the Netherlands flying helicopters, there were FAA directives came out about aircraft that I knew of, or maybe was flying myself, and if it was things, you have to immediately make the adjustments, changes, whether it's a part or it's a procedure. So somewhere it broke down, if indeed this is to blame for these crashes. But it seems like Boeing initially didn't do very well, but over a year ago, this information was known. And it was known through the proper channels, to my knowledge, in aviation. So every pilot aviating one of these aircraft would have to know this issue. Doesn't mean that the training they had could actually save them from the issue. That's separate. But it's not like it was a secret.
Yeah. Well, what you said, in essence, is that while every pilot may have known, every news media outlet apparently didn't. And these stories are phony.
Yes. Yes.
So we're getting phony news that should have been, if these reporters were doing their job, they would have known about this. Obviously, it took place a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
They make it sound like it's just like an overnight thing. So would you think that maybe is it the Airbus behind the bad reporting? Because the result is that all the planes have been grounded.
Well, what I don't like about this is that the black box, now this happened in an African country aligned with France, it being an empire, and they still run a lot in Africa. No one ever talks about that. The black box, the Boeing,
We've talked about it a lot.
Yeah, we is not everybody. We is us. The black box did not go to Boeing. It went to France. It went to the enemy. The enemy has the black box. So the French are going to analyze this. Now, of course, they know how to analyze a black box. They know how to do it. But when you have this huge war between Boeing and Airbus, you'd think that there'll be a little more pushback on, hey, could we please have it before you start tampering around with the data? So I don't like that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's bad. It's not okay. I think it should have come to the to Boeing, and well, certainly the FAA, the U.S. authority, should be involved in the opening and extraction of the data. So we'll see. That it changes everything for me. Changes everything. If they knew about it, now does that mean that some crappier airlines don't have these directives? Well, we haven't seen Southwest or American Airlines have this issue just yet. I do know what the update is. The planned software update is indeed changing some behavior in the MCAS system, which is all I had back in the day when I had money, living in the UK, I had a Jaguar XJS 12-cylinder, like a 6-liter, whatever it was. And the car was a very powerful.
Probably not a great car to buy if you care about maintenance.
Well, not only that, but the entire car only stayed on the road because of the computer systems. If you turned it off, you couldn't manage it. You could not manage the vehicle. It was too powerful. The weight distribution was off. The whole thing was basically put together, and your driving was maintained by the computer. And that's what they did with this. I would say it's almost a new type of aircraft because they changed substantial, changed the design of the wing and the engines and the placement of the engines, and thus all your center of gravity, angle of attack, all these different things change. It should be seen as an entirely new aircraft, and I think they got to skimp on certification, etc., because they're building it on an existing frame. But that still doesn't mean that if you put the information out there, that pilots should know how to handle it. So the update will only cite if the system believes that you're doing something wrong and it tries to override you, it will override, but only one cycle. It won't do it continuously. So that should give the pilots more chance to figure out what's going on.
Up and down motion.
Yeah.
But is it possible that Boeing slipstreamed a fix into the software for this system into all the planes at some time just before the first crash?
Anything's possible.
Do they do that?
I don't believe that they do updates like Tesla over the air. It's my understanding that, like most updates within aviation, it happens in a certified shop. Certainly, if it's avionics, and avionics specialists will do it. They receive, there's all kinds of sign-offs and approvals for updating. It's not something that just happens overnight.
Is it possible? How often does this thing get? I mean, I have my printer. My Epson printer keeps asking me, "Oh, we got an update to the, this or the update to that," on a weekly basis.
These updates hopefully don't occur very often in my look. I remember flying the Eurocopter a lot, and the Eurocopter, when you start up the Eurocopter, which is a nice aircraft, although it has counter rotation, so you have to use a left instead of right pedal that you're used to in taking off and landing. It starts up with Windows NT 3.1. So on the flight screen, you see that pop up, and you have to wait. Part of the startup procedure is waiting for Windows NT 3.1 to boot. Honestly, I never liked that. It never felt good to me because it does manage engine things. But these are very low level, or maybe it's the opposite, high level. It's very tightly compiled. It's hardware. You don't see a disk running, that runs these type of systems. It's all embedded instructions.
We need more details.
We do need more details, but the first one is this is not an unknown. It's not like a magical thing that happened.
So I only have one thing maybe left.
Okay.
I mean, I have a bunch of stuff left, but I do want to get this out of the way. If you haven't noticed, there's a concerted effort to get Tucker Carlson off the air.
Yes.
And so somebody, apparently years ago, he used to like to do Bubba the Love Sponge. Kind of a Howard Stern.
Do you have new information on this story? This is pretty old.
No, I don't have new information. Well, actually, the story is continuing, so it's not like new. I mean, there's protesters in front of the Fox studios going on. No, but what I do have, and it is old because it's stuff from Bubba the Love Sponge.
But this has
from
been
20
played.
years
But this
ago.
has been played on everything. Everything from CNN. Everyone's played.
We
these
have
clips.
never played it.
Okay.
And I also cut out
For
all the
good
music.
reason.
Well, I just thought we should play it. I just thought as a point of information, we should listen to Tucker say nasty things about women and all the other stuff that got everybody in a tizzy. We have not played it. It has been played to death, different versions of it. This is a version that's a little long, but it's at least not. It doesn't have the music and all the interludes and crazy stuff going on.
So it's something only the No Agenda Show can do.
Play it. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, something only the No Agenda Show can do is play you the raw source material. Right?
Yeah, well, it's whatever it is.
You're supposed to say sure.
Compiled.
When I say
Anyways,
right, when I say right, you
can
say sure.
Stop it if you find it's too gross to play.
No, when I say right, you say sure.
Sure.
By the way, women hate you when they do you wrong and you put up with it.
Yes. Exactly.
Women, because they hate weakness. They're like dogs that way. They can smell it on you and
she
they have
admitted
contempt for it. They'll bite you. I mean, I love women, but they're extremely primitive. They're basic. They're not that hard to understand. And one of the things they hate more than anything is weakness in a man. Do you run into Martha Stewart in the hallway over there?
No, Alexis Stewart. We run into her all the time.
She seems awful.
Yeah, she is awful.
They're very T.
She seems extremely.
I like to hear that word out of. Oh yeah, I stepped over him. She seems what? Now go ahead.
She just does seem a little Yeah, I mean, you said it. I'm just agreeing with you. I don't use that word because
right. I'd love for Tucker Carlson tonight on MSNBC. A girl that comes across kind of.
Hey, didn't he get fired from MSNBC specifically for this stuff?
It's possible, but
I thought he got fired for this.
People forget that he was at MSNBC during this era.
Yeah, even before CNN. Wasn't it MSNBC first, and then he went to CNN? Or was it the other way around?
Yeah, then he went to Fox.
Well, she does. I mean, I heard her. Now I'm a Brent fan, so okay, I'm stating my bias right out front here. But I heard her on with him, and I just wanted to give her the spanking she so
I actually want.
I got to be honest with you. I don't like her, and I wouldn't vote to confirm her if I were a U.S. senator. But I do feel sorry for her in that way. I feel sorry for unattractive women. I mean, there's nothing they did, you know?
If you took every celebrity, I think he controls it pretty tightly, but if you took every celebrity who's been on Howard Stern, you could do this to everybody. Because that's kind of what this Bubba the Love Sponge is.
You could, because they encourage it on these shows.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a douche.
Yeah.
You don't have to play any more of it. I think you get the idea. But it goes on and on. He says nothing good about anybody. And so they're compiling this. This is like one of 3 or 4 of these things. They go on forever.
Yeah.
I just got one that we'll skip that and go to this clip, which is the press conference, which I think was hilarious. Because this was the second or third time this has come up in the same press conference with poor Sarah Huckabee having to answer this funny, I think, hilarious questions. The media is completely off the rails to be even giving a crap about casual conversation.
Question for you, but I also have a follow-up to a colleague because I didn't hear you actually answer the question. So yes or no, does the president truly believe that Democrats hate Jews?
I am not going to comment on a potentially leaked document. I can tell you what I can tell you.
Do you think Democrats hate Jewish people, as he said on the South?
I think that they've had a lot of opportunities over the last few weeks to condemn some abhorrent comments. I'm trying to answer. If you'd stop talking, I'll finish my statement. The president has had and laid out clearly his position on this matter. Democrats have had a number of opportunities to condemn specific comments and have refused to do that. That's a question, frankly, I think you should ask Democrats what their position is, since they're unwilling to call this what it is and call it out by name and take actual action against members who have done things like this, like the Republicans have done when they had the same opportunity.
So I want to ask about Paul Manafort, but I just want to be very clear. You're not answering the question. Is there a reason?
I believe I answered it twice.
Yeah, this cycle of it's the hypocrisy loop. Well, you didn't disavow that. Well, you didn't disavow that. You didn't go fast enough on that. You didn't say this. It's all so tiring.
It's really bad. The media in this country is just...
It's not...
They can't do... Where's this news in this?
Well, I have some. This could be our final. Yesterday, he had a big conference in Atlanta. Atlanta is home of CNN. Who shows up on Brooke, CNN's show? Al Gore. And this is the day after the children got no media coverage. This is very sad. Children got no media coverage. Children could, and it's they played hooky from school, and it was very hopeful for everybody. But luckily, we got Al Gore on to fill us in. There's some updates. The numbers have changed a little bit. Things are much better for the climate change movement, Green New Deal, and I think we could have a little laugh as we listen to what he has to say. And this is what we would call a tell fest. What is Al Gore's tell when he's lying?
It's a little cough, I believe.
It's a laugh.
That little, fake little laugh.
It's a little laugh. Well, buckle in.
Mr. Vice President, despite all the science, all the warnings, there are still skeptics at the highest level of government. To what do you attribute that?
Now, I like what Brooke is doing here. She's trying to say the highest level of government. She's trying to say Trump. But she wants him to say Trump.
Well, I don't think that there are... obviously, there's no basis for doubting what the Mother Nature is telling us now. It's beyond the consensus of 99% of the scientists. Just listen to...
Hold on. New numbers. Alert. It's now beyond the 99% consensus of scientists. He doesn't even say climate scientists. We've gone...
No, it's just scientists, everybody.
Beyond 99.
What the Mother Nature is telling us now, it's beyond the consensus of 99% of the scientists. Just listen to Mother Nature. And the climate-related extreme weather events have quadrupled in recent years. Here in the U.S. alone. And
I like this statistic. The extreme climate-related extreme weather events have quadrupled. Well, that's not that there were more horrific weather events. They're just labeled as climate change extreme weather events. It's not. There's no more or less than you would have expected. It's just the labeling is different. But he says it in a cool way.
Have quadrupled in recent years. Here in the U.S. alone, and less than 9 years, we've had 17 once-in-a-thousand-year events. And
I wish we could have a list of those.
They keep on coming, and they keep on getting worse. So the old strategy of trying to fool people into disbelieving the evidence in front of their own...
When he laughs like that, his tell, he's really laughing about how he is fooling people. That's why he can't contain himself.
Keep on getting worse. So... the old strategy of trying to fool people into disbelieving the evidence in front of their own eyes is failing. And we're crossing a tipping point now, Brooke. We're seeing many Republicans change their positions and join the growing bipartisan consensus. And the debate's not about the science. That debate's long since over. The debate now is about the best ways to move as fast as we can to solve this crisis.
Okay. We all know that best way is to pay Al Gore. Second clip. This is very nice. We have a strategy for getting Trump elected or voted out of office. It's a very important one, and it has to do with the Paris Climate Accord. I did not know what he is about to tell us. I looked it up, and I guess you can say it's true what he's saying. Listen.
But what about the leader of all Republicans, the president himself? I mean, if inaction continues for the next 2, maybe 6 years under a Trump White House, what concerns you? What is the one immediate consequence on climate?
Well, actually, in what some might call a perverse way, I think the fact that Donald J. Trump has become the global face of climate denial is actually encouraging a lot more people to join the cause of helping bring about the solutions more rapidly. He cannot withdraw from the Paris Agreement, by the way, legally. The first date we could is the day after the next presidential election. So the fate of this issue is not in his hands. It's in our hands. And a large and growing bipartisan majority in this country is now saying definitively to politicians and office holders, it's time to act, and the sooner the better, the bolder the better.
Now, it's meaningless, but what he's saying is true. As President Obama signed and formally joined the Paris deal in 2016, arguing at the time that Senate ratification was not required because it was not a formal treaty. And that's why it's meaningless. But as a result, the U.S. will continue to be part of the agreement until November 5th, 2020, the first date that the U.S. can formally withdraw, which is in 2020, the day after the election. I think this.
Holy crap. First of all, you get clip of the day for discovering this.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I would be nothing without my producers.
Yeah, well, somebody found it for you.
No, I clip all this stuff.
Very few. I get a few, but not as many as you do. The point is that it's almost though it was a setup.
Yeah, it's a perfect setup.
Why would the worldwide agreement have anything to do with our election cycle?
Coincidence?
I think not.
Now, the third one will blow your mind even more. What have we seen? We've seen children being abused and becoming spokesholes for this movement, for this financial movement, because the ultimate goal is a price on carbon, a carbon tax globally. Money. And if you just want to, for those of you who are new, you should go to the Bingits, go to bingit.io and look for Al Gore, Maurice Strong, carbon exchange, and you can learn about the financial motive that Al Gore at least seemed to have when starting all of this up, and who Maurice Strong is, etc. So we've taken these children and we have put the fear of God into them. We have made them believe in climate change, and they're all going to die. We have report after report, and this most recent one, if we don't do anything with this within 12 years, then we're all going to die. It's the genesis of the Green New Deal. It's why children are depressed, and this truancy, the climate strike, which was on Friday. It didn't get much ink or airtime because of the New Zealand mosque massacre, but the children still went out there. They're still being made to be very afraid of climate change, aka global warming, while they stand in the cold wrapped up in their sweaters, their mittens, and their hats. Greta Thunberg has been nominated. She's the now 15-year-old who's been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize for her work. She's a trained child. It's like a circus. She's been trained by her parents, who are globalists, who are activists, who are in on the deal. And now listen to what Al Gore has to say about the children.
Young people were in the vanguard of that civil rights movement, and it always has been so. And where climate is concerned, it's especially true because these young people are going to live longer and live with the consequences of the climate crisis longer. And they've studied it in school. They understand it, most of them, very clearly. In fact, I'm very proud that one of the graduates of our climate reality project, Young Haven Coleman, went through our training program a few years ago in Denver at the age of 11. Right. Yeah. And she is one of the co-leaders of this students' school strike movement in the U.S.
So he trained an 11-year-old child like a circus animal to talk this way, and is now positioned as one of the leaders of this school strike.
Where's Child Protective Services?
That's a very good question, because this is not okay. You're training 11-year-olds in a lie.
This is a classic maneuver. This is the young Nazis.
Yes.
The Communist Party. They were all the same.
The Hitler Jugend.
Yeah, the Hitler Jugend. That's what you want. A bunch of, I'm not going to say stupid, but yes, stupid 10 and 11-year-olds that don't know what the hell's going on because their brain hasn't fully formed. And you get them, you brainwash them into these, you got Al Gore there and training kids to be activists. It's really inexcusable.
Yeah.
And she is one of the
way,
sorry.
His notion that it's these 10, 11-year-olds who were behind the civil rights movement, which is how he started that. Yes. Bull crap.
Yeah.
All you have to do is take a look at the pictures in Birmingham and elsewhere. There's no 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds in there.
He didn't say 10-year-olds. He said young people. There were young people.
It was even then. It was maybe there's some 19-year-olds, but young people to me is somebody under 18.
30 more seconds on the clip.
Training program a few years ago in Denver at the age of 11, and she is one of the co-leaders of this student school strike movement in the U.S. We just had a panel of 4 very young people here, and boy, are they articulate and bright and persuasive
and programmed.
They're passionate about this. And one of them said, I'm 16 years old and I'm on school strike today, but I'm warning you all, in 2020, I'm voting. We're coming for those of you who are not helping to solve this crisis.
All right. There it is. Al Gore has spoken. They're coming for you. The children are coming for you. And they're trained. They're trained specialists. So.
Yeah. Brainwashed drones.
Sad, but so it is. That's our deconstruction for today. I think you got your value. I certainly feel valuable today. We did a lot. Got to the bottom of some things, more questions, but the news is not your friend. It's another way of saying it. And coming to you from downtown Austin, Texas, still hipster central. The end of South by Southwest. If you're looking for us, we are the capital of the Drone Star State. We're in FEMA Region number 6 in the governmental maps. And I'm coming to you from the 5x9 Cludio in the common law condo. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where the Zephyr was a little late today, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Thursday with another episode of the best podcast in the universe. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos, and such. A special thanks to Bill Walsh, Leo LePuke, and Sir Jeff Smith for our end of show mixes.
I got ants. I got ants. I don't know if we had ants. We had ant invasion. I was thinking if you desiccated a big pile of ants and then ground them to a powder like a fine grind black pepper, we were having dinner and I got an ant somehow in the meal and I ate it. These things are peppery. I got ants. I got ants. These ants, they don't need a lot. And then you find all the ones that are roaming around. I backed them off by doing the burning trick. You just torch them. And you leave them there. The only ant, there are occasional moments where there's an ant that you do not torch, and that's an ant that's carrying one of the dead ants back. I got ants. I got ants. I got ants. I got ants. 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 Ha! Ha! Ah! Go.
I'll tell you, kids, come close to your podcast listening device. Stick those buds deeper into your ear. We'll just do it live!
We'll do it live! We'll do it live!
That's cool. Ha!
We'll just do it live!
We'll do it live! We'll do it live!
Squirrel Mail nails it.
Squirrel! All hail to the Squirrel Mail! We'll do it live!
We'll do it live! Do it live!
Well, you can burn to death in a gasoline car.
I do it all live!
Let's do it live! Do it live!
Nobody knows what we're talking about. I think we should stop the show.
Chill through the morning, hit the ground running, it's The best podcast in the universe.
Mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.